Good morning, everybody. I know I am late. I have an actual excuse for why I'm late. I'm sorry. It's Monday morning, right? It's always Monday mornings. Dude, my camera, and to prove that it's not actually that I have a real excuse here, this was the old camera. I just replaced it with a new camera because this camera wasn't working for whatever reason. I don't know why it's not working. It just wasn't working. And now I'm kind of blurry, right? I'm not blurry, but it's out of focus. If I had waited for more time to fix the focus, then I would have been even more late. Dude, I don't know, dude. I don't know why this one decided not to work. I have a separate camera. I had to literally take this one off, put that one on, adjust the settings. I don't know why it started being stupid in the morning, but it's Monday and it started being stupid. So I will try to fix the focus on this in a little bit, but yeah, we're live. You could say it's excuses. You could say it's whatever. This is being done. I don't know. I have nothing else to tell you guys. I have dog ate my homework, whatever. I don't know what you guys want to believe, but nonetheless, we are here. We are live. And I was so ready at 8:45, bro. I was ready to press go live, and the camera's just not showing anything. And I'm wait a second, people kind of need to see me or whatever. And I could just use this camera and go to the crappy one. And I could have gone live with this fine, but goodness, dude, it's just this is stupid now. So it is what it is. We're back. I'm sorry it's a little blurry right here. I'll try to fix this in a bit. But yeah. Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being. Everyone thought I was in the bathroom, bro. No, I wasn't in the bathroom. This freaking camera is giving me so many problems over the weekend. I thought I'd fixed it last night. And it is what it is. This is the life of a creator. It happens. So anyway, good morning, everybody. We're here. We're back. Got a lot of stuff to talk about. I think the big thing that all of us are looking at right here is a little stock that we all love to follow. Palantir in the pre-markets, $140.47. There is a lot to get into, a lot to talk about, a lot to discuss. You guys think webcam looks better? All right, so we'll just switch to webcam. I will fix the focus on this in a little bit, and then we'll go back to the regular camera. Dude, that's so annoying, bro. It's I hooked up the new camera, and the only thing that's wrong with it is the focus. Usually never has an it's just always Monday mornings, bro. Everything wants to go wrong and just be stupid, but regardless, here we are. There you go. Palantir 140. Look, this is pretty incredible. I have some theories on why Palantir is getting this momentum. We got a lot to talk about, obviously, with Iran, Israel, and we'll go deeper into that. We have a bunch of headlines this morning. Oil is down, which is kind of crazy, right? Given everything that happened over the weekend, oil's down 2%. That's great news for inflation, great news for the broader market. S&P 500 futures just touching 6,000, as we can see right here, up about 0.64%. I mean, it's pretty incredible. It's pretty incredible, and there's a lot of reasons why I think this is happening, so we will go deeper into it as we get into the overall market open. First of all, I hope everyone had a good Father's Day. If you got some time to celebrate with your fathers, I got to celebrate some time with my dad yesterday. This was a picture I posted over the weekend. This is my favorite picture of my dad and I. It's from when I think I was 3 years old in this. I think we were in DC, and the basic argument for me for Father's Day pretty much every year is, it was also my dad's birthday on June 13th. So it was his birthday and then Father's Day at the same time. He came from India, stood in a liquor store 10 hours a day, literally 10 hours a day, probably more like 12 hours a day for 20 years, worked 6.5 days a week. I think the only time he took off was the second part of Sunday. So at 5 p.m. on Sundays, he would come home early. Also that I could have a chance to pursue my dreams, So our fathers give up a lot for us, especially immigrant fathers, came from a whole different country to America, had to grind his own way, start his own business. I guess that's where the entrepreneurial, I've never had a job, and I think that's because my dad never had a job. It's just the entrepreneur bug got in me. And although I'm taking it a different route in terms of media and entertainment, the work ethic that's required to be successful in any business, he taught me at a very young age. And he didn't really teach it to me. I just saw it every day, how hard he worked. So shout out to all the dads out there. Thank you for everything you do, and happy Father's Day. Hopefully all you guys got some time to spend with your fathers. I actually drove my dad to the new apartment that I'm moving into in Jersey City. And this is the first time he went on the highway with me, about 45 minutes FSD. And he couldn't believe it. He legitimately couldn't believe it. I did not touch the car, not once, zero interventions. And every time it did a lane switch, every time it took an exit, every time it sped up and then slowed down for a car that was in front of it, he thought I was pressing the brakes or something. I was like, no, dude, I'm not pressing anything. I'm not pressing anything. So very, very cool. Super, super fun. And yeah, I got to enjoy a nice little Father's Day dinner with my dad, my family, etc. Now, this is the first time they also saw the apartment. This is the first time they saw the apartment. This is my second time I got to see my apartment, because the last time I saw it was in May, and I signed the lease as soon as I decided that I wanted it. And so this is the second time in about 3 months that I got to see it. And let me just say, folks, I know it was very spur of the moment. It was spontaneous. It was decisive. I know I saw it for like 10 minutes and then I signed the lease. My parents liked it. And my dad is not an easy guy to please. My dad is not an easy guy. He's always, the Indian dads, they tend to be a little negative and skeptical on pretty much everything. You could have like the greatest thing happen to you and they would still try to find that pin of skepticism. And that's just their immigrant mentality. Even he was like, this is a nice apartment. This is a nice apartment. So I am very, very excited for it. I fell in love with the apartment again yesterday. Like when I walked in again, I was like, oh crap, this is why I booked it immediately. Again, this was the only 2-bedroom that was available. And if I had not taken this apartment, I don't know if I would have been able to find an apartment to move out by the end of the summer. Also, again, I kind of think it's a lot of luck. I was the second person on the wait list for the only 2-bedroom in this whole building. The first guy who was on the wait list for 3 months, the day before the wait list, the wait list was open for that 2-bedroom, he dropped out because he was so tired of waiting 3 months. And the only reason I got to get it is because I was number 2 on the wait list, and then I was able to like go get a tour. And as soon as I saw it, I fell in love. So very, very excited. My mom got a bunch of ideas on how to decorate it. I think the studio is going to look I think in mid-August you guys are going to see it, and I think it's going to be cool. It's going to be really, really freaking cool. And I think the content we're going to be able to make, we're just going to be able to level up in a lot of different ways. And yeah, I think you guys enjoy it. My mom loved it. I mean, she walked in and she absolutely loved it. So this is going to be fun. It'll be a fun one. And August is the date where we get into the new apartment. All right, cool. So let's get into what's going on in the broader markets. And let's start off with Iran, Israel. Now, over the weekend, we had more escalations around Iran, Israel in a variety of different ways. They exchanged missiles with each other, drones. I'm sure you guys have seen a lot of different footage, even as late as last night, where Iran was sending different missiles. Israel was using their Iron Dome to block them. Israel was really getting aggressive in terms of Iran's nuclear facilities. Having said all of that, the reason oil prices are down right now and the reason why the markets are green is because it seems like, and this is based on Iranian state TV that just put out this note, Iran would give up, this is the reporting, Iran would give up their enrichment efforts in order to protect the regime, which would mean they can get a deal done soon, and that would also stabilize oil prices. From Iran Wire about 30 minutes ago. In an exclusive interview, a high-ranking Iranian diplomat revealed that Iran's military and political leadership are prepared to give up uranium enrichment to preserve the regime. Quote, but we need to have a face-saving solution, said the diplomat, who spoke on the condition of anonymity. So, what is going on right here? How does this make sense to the everyday person to understand like why oil is not spiking, given a bunch of oil fields were hit in Iran and some even oil refineries, not oil fields, but refineries were also hit in Israel. What's going on right now is it's becoming obvious to the market. This is going to end pretty soon. And the reason this is going to end pretty soon, and again, this could be wrong. This could escalate to World War III potentially. But I think the reason why the S&P 500 is up right now is because the market's thinking, wait a second, who does Iran really have backing them? China doesn't really care that much about Iran. Russia doesn't really care that much about Iran. A lot of the Middle Eastern partners there, the Saudis are not fans of Iran. And this, MBS is ushering in an entire new world in which he's pulling back the restrictions on women. He's making religious police in the region not be as hostile as they were 5 years ago. Iran is still operating under a different regime in terms of how they think philosophically about religion, enforcing it, etc. Just like the harshness of the laws. And then obviously, when you've got ties to Hezbollah, Hamas, etc., there are ways in which the Middle Eastern countries are isolating themselves from Iran. That doesn't mean they want to see the regime get toppled and have another serious situation. But that also means they're not necessarily going to supply Iran with all the weapons they need to fight inside of a war. If Russia's not giving Iran a nuke, if China's not giving Iran a nuke, if Pakistan, India are not helping Iran, who do they have? The country has the shit sanctioned out of it. So there is not an economic way for them to be able to generate money outside of their oil revenues to actually be able to meaningfully fight. So I think the market right now is just pricing in, wait a second, if they don't have the ability to fight and their head nuclear scientist and nuclear facilities have been bombed as of Friday, then the only thing left for them to do is give up their enrichment efforts, aka their ability to want to build a nuclear weapon, and settle with the United States. And so I think the market's just basically saying, okay, so if they're going to get a deal with the United States, if Israel's probably going to lay back because Iran's nuclear facilities are done, and there's not going to be regime change, which I think would be not the best for the entire market, because like who wants to go through another, Middle Eastern crisis of a regime change, unless the Iranian people want it. But, time will tell around that. And it doesn't seem as likely right now. And the people in Iran that are holding the regime probably want to make sure they maintain their power. Therefore, they would give up theoretically the fight and they would back down like they have done in the past. That could be why the markets are saying, all right, this is over and we'll move on. Meta right here up 3% in the pre-markets. Why is Meta up in the pre-markets? Why is Meta up? Let me check real quick. I don't know why Meta's up 3%. Let's see if there's a headline. Oppenheimer upgraded them to 775, but that's not the reason. Oh, here it is. Meta's introducing channel subscriptions, promoted channels, and ads in status in WhatsApp. Oh, here it is. WhatsApp monetization is here, folks. WhatsApp monetization is here. There you go. There you go. Everyone's been waiting for WhatsApp monetization. Everyone knew it was eventually coming. There you go. WhatsApp monetization. Meta's introducing channel subscriptions, promoted channels, ads in status, and WhatsApp updates. Meta's up about 2% at 700. It was at 703. Right now it's 700. But there you go. Where's TTD? TTD is down on this. TTD is down 4%. There you go. TTT is down 4%. Palantir 140. We'll talk about that in a second. Tesla 332. Nvidia 143.39. Robin at 73.81. Grab is up a little bit, 2% in the pre-market. SoFi 14.29. Google 175. Amazon 213. Meta again on that news up about 3%. WhatsApp has, if I'm not wrong, I believe 3 billion DAUs. If I'm not wrong, or 3 billion MAUs. I remember the most shocking stat about WhatsApp is that surprised me. During the World Cup, 25,000 messages in 2022 were sent a second. Like the scale of WhatsApp is unbelievable. And Meta's been very patient with trying to attract users. Bitcoin right here at 106 before really monetizing it. It's been about 10 years. They bought it for 14 billion in 2014 or 19 billion in 2014. So it looks like now they are ready to begin the monetization. By the way, MicroStrategy, Sailor bought another 10,000 Bitcoin this morning. Sailor bought another 10,000 Bitcoin this morning. Celsius is up 5% on an upgrade they got this morning as well. 43.33. Shout out to Celsius. That's up 5.2%. And then where's ASTS? ASTS is up 3% in the pre-markets. They got a big deal on Friday. ASTS right now currently up 3% here. And then Circle mooning as well. I don't know why Circle is up 10%, but Circle's up 10%, dude. Goodness gracious. Where's Visa? Where's my beloved Visa? Visa's up at least 1%. All right. I'm gonna try to do a deep dive on Circle with some stablecoin experts. We're doing the deep dives thing 2 times a month now. I want to do Circle as well. Circle, Oscar, Lemonade, those are 3 of the next main candidates. And I will try to get some people soon to see if we can get a Circle deep dive, just so we can at least understand, what is the real bull case for this company. Again, they had that deal with Coinbase 2 weeks ago before the IPO that really, brought them a lot of momentum, up about 9.7% right here in the pre-markets. VG, is that one moving as well? Pretty much everything's green pre-market. Yeah, VG up another 1%. Misty's up a little bit right here. Cisco's up. Lyft, Home Depot, Uber, Walmart, Red Cat, DoorDash, Duolingo, Nubank. I mean, it goes back to the point. Palantir 140. It goes back to the point I think the market is recognizing Iran doesn't have a shot here. They just don't. And that doesn't mean that the escalation has to end anytime soon, but that does mean the inevitable outcome is if none of our adversaries are going to help Iran in any meaningful way, and none of the Middle Eastern allies, right, or the Middle Eastern, you could call them partners, are going to supply Iran with weapons, they're going to run out soon. They don't have the money to be able to make tons of weapons or order tons of weapons because, again, they are sanctioned. And the inevitability that I think the market's recognizing is, hey, they're going to accept the Trump deal. They had 2 months to accept it. They said no. Israel attacked right after. This attack only, I think, makes them weaker. Now, they could fight back. Again, the question is just how aggressive do they want to be? And if they dare touch an American base, they know they're going to get blown off the face of the earth if they touch with the Americans. So the question then just becomes, how confident do they feel touching the Israelis and the Israeli? And we already know that America's going to back the Israeli. Like Trump pretty much confirmed that over the weekend without explicitly confirming it, but rather just saying, read between the lines. We're going to work with Israel if this attack gets any more aggressive. And America has already started giving them weapons and capabilities over the past 48 hours to deter more missiles, even if America is not engaging in the actual offensive strikes themselves. And so from that perspective, I think the market's just like, all right, cool. That's it. We know what's going to happen. Moody's couldn't take this market down. Bond auctions couldn't take this market down. 50% tariffs on the EU couldn't take this market down. The China deal that was like kind of negotiated, kind of not negotiated, and then went back to like a hostile situation before the London situation. Then London kind of resolved it. That couldn't take the market down. And now Iran, Israel, big black swan that came out of nowhere. You would think, all right, that would hurt the market. No, S&P 6,000, Palantir, all-time highs. So speaking on Palantir right now, why is Palantir at all-time highs? I think it's pretty simple. I think the market is perceiving Palantir software as being part of the reason why Israel was able to be so effective in this Iran situation. And when I mean effective, I don't mean that they won, because I don't think there's any winner yet. I think the market's pricing in that Iran will back down and that Israel will inevitably get what they have wanted, which is Iran to not develop a nuclear weapon. But Palantir software might be at the forefront of that. I think that's the reason. I mean, there's no other reason I can explain for why Palantir is getting another 2%. There's no like fundamental reason. There's no deals that they got into like that. It's really just perception of, hey, this is the company that might be, keeping Israel safe on the front lines. And as a result, that could be worth more money in the future, but also from a perception perspective, how Americans want to, or just investors want to allocate capital to play this situation. Palantir might be their safety right here. Or it's the merch store that's launching. I hope everyone enjoyed the Mike Gallagher interview. I've been trying to get it on X, but I've been having some upload issues all over the weekend. But dude, that was a fun interview. And I think a lot of you guys have enjoyed it. This is a clip from that interview. Mike Gallagher, just one of the most down-to-earth, humble people ever. And I think you guys will enjoy this podcast. If you haven't seen it, it's on YouTube. I uploaded it on Saturday.
Eliana couldn't give you a Palantir hat?
No, I have too many Palantir hats.
Okay.
The new merch store is coming out soon. And
the merch, I'm here to talk about the merch store. I mean, Palantir is like basically a software company paving the way for a merch company, I would say. Like, the software is the John the Baptist to the savior that is Eliano and the merch store. That will eclipse everything we're doing. That valuation will go beyond 300 billion at some point in the future.
Dude, he was so cool. It was so cool. It was like, I really think you guys will enjoy that podcast. It wasn't just like an interview. He was making jokes. He was laughing. He was really explaining his philosophy. So, and he also, one of the funniest parts of the interview was I was like, well, Palantir has grown as a company. He's like, admit, when I joined, the stock was at $20 and what is it now? 120 at the time we did the interview. I think they called it the Gallagher effect. Like, he was such a cool guy. And, after we post the interview, boom, the stock's at 140. So we can say the stock from 135 to 140 is due to the Gallagher interview. But no, in all seriousness, the guy is super humble, super awesome. And he really explained his philosophy around the CCP and Taiwan, etc. Oh, speaking of the CCP and Taiwan, here's another reason why I think America doesn't want to get into a conflict with Iran. If we do, let's say there's a full-out war in the Middle East between Iran and Israel. Some reports from Reuters this morning indicated that high-level American officials desperately do not want to get into this. And one of the reasons is based on what Gallagher talked about in the interview. If we are occupied in the Middle East, right now, what is our singular focus as Americans? China. Our singular focus is getting a China deal done and making sure that we have semiconductor national security, pharmaceutical national security, we have tariff security, all that stuff in the context of China, and then the rest of the deals will follow. If we take our eyes off the ball and go into the Middle East, China has an easy path to say, oh, America's not that focused anymore. Let's go after Taiwan. And that, I think, would be very, very devastating. So, like, I think one of the reasons why Trump is so desperate to get this deal done soon and not really engage in a hostile act. By the way, there were reports over the weekend that there was an operation for Trump to greenlight killing the supreme leader of Iran, and he put it down. So he had the opportunity, working with Israeli intelligence, to kill the supreme leader of Iran. And the report suggested that he vetoed it, because what would happen if they were successful at doing this, and the intelligence that Mossad and the CIA have would argue that they could obviously be very successful, it would be toppling over a regime. And if they were the ones to kill, and again, this might be wrong, but this is what the report suggested, if they were the ones to kill the Iranian supreme leader, they would then have to take responsibility for that. And it would be another Syria situation. It would be another Afghanistan situation where they would have to go in and install a new regime. And I don't think Trump wants to spend the next 3 years finding a new regime and a new leader for Iran that's probably going to be corrupted anyway. I mean, at the end of the day, if the Iranians want to topple their regime, this is why it's so amazing to live in a country with freedoms, because other people did that for us. Other people died for our freedoms. And so if the Iranians truly do want freedom, they're going to have to, topple the regime. And that's not easy to do. It's obviously not an easy thing to do. So from that perspective, I think Trump does not want to get involved here, but I also think the markets think that this is going to be resolved sooner than later. And if it is, then that would be effective for the broader markets as well. Let's get a little bit more coverage on this, and then we'll get into some other macro headlines. We got FOMC this week, so we'll talk about some of the expectations that we have on FOMC. And real quick, before we get into some more coverage on this, the Trump organization did launch a new product today. It is called Trump Mobile. So we are now going to have cell phones made in the USA, along with broadband, telehealth, and data services. We'll talk more about that in a bit.
The scene's probably very interested in pushing the Trump administration to work out some kind of de-escalation. For them, this is largely from an economic standpoint about oil. It's about access to oil.
The Iranian oil.
And they buy the Iranian oil. They're one of the biggest, if not sometimes the biggest, buyer of Iranian oil. Obviously, it's done through the black market and it's illegal, but that makes a huge difference for them.
Do they care about whether Iran would be a nuclear-armed country? How would that factor in? And why does the economic output matter so much more?
My sense is that the countries in the region, Iran is neighbors with 4 nuclear powers: Russia, China, India, and Pakistan. And none of those, I think, want Iran to have a nuclear weapon. Yet I don't think anybody in the region wants to see another country completely destabilized, have a power vacuum, have what will absolutely be, if there's a regime overthrow, where the next stop is going to be a very bloody and very intense civil war. It's not going to be some kind of Goldilocks scenario where you just have a new government take over and Iran becomes stable. And that is a scenario everybody wants to avoid in the region.
But do you think the other neighbors in the region, the ones who don't have nuclear powers, want to see Iran armed with nuclear weapons? I mean, you just mentioned the ones who have nuclear weapons don't want them to have it. What about the ones who don't?
Probably not. I don't know if anybody wants Iran to have a nuclear weapon. And I think it's
more nukes seems like a bad idea just in general.
Totally. And I think, the real question is, do the Iranians ultimately want to have a nuclear weapon? I think the answer may have changed now. They might be much closer to a yes now than they were 5 days ago, 6 days ago.
We just heard that we've had almost 5 decades of troublemaking from Iran. We saw in Syria a regime was toppled. It doesn't seem like all hell is. I don't know how it finally plays out, and it's not necessarily great. I don't know what this regime eventually looks like either, but it doesn't sound like what you just described would automatically happen in Iran. You don't think that there's no Arab Spring, or I don't know, what would you call it in Iran? What would it be called?
I think
if the people really do strive, crave something that looks like what other countries in the Middle East that are more moderate, what those people have at this point.
After having covered what happened in Afghanistan, having covered the region widely in a previous life, I always say that there's a difference between people with aspirations and people with the guns. People with aspiration are great, but it's people with the guns who have a more everlasting impact.
That doesn't last forever. It looks like this is like one of the, in 5 decades, it's never been possible. This doesn't it look like it. I don't know whether you heard Fred Kemp earlier. He thinks this could usher in. He's very optimistic about it. You sound very negative and pessimistic about it.
Yeah, I certainly don't share that view. I'm quite frankly very afraid, and I can tell you that a lot of people in the administration, especially those who are focused on China right now, certainly don't want any part of this. This is
And again, one of the reasons they don't want any part of it, trying to fix this blur, bro, but I don't know if I can fix it. One of the reasons they don't want any part of it is, again, because of the implications of what it means for Taiwan and taking their eye off the ball when it comes to China. Palantir right here, 140.3 in the pre-markets, up about 2.21%. So one of the things that, again, some of these geopolitical experts that have been studying the region for a long time are saying is that, again, Iran doesn't have a lot of allies. They sell oil to people. They sell a ton of oil to China, so that could be a reason for why China would be friendly to them. But does China really want to back them in a war against Israel and the U.S.? Probably not. Does Russia really want to do it? No, Putin over the weekend said, hey, he's open to being an intermediary that can potentially break bread and make some peace between Iran and Israel. So, you've got all the major leaders across the world saying we are not trying to get into some Middle Eastern war. Everyone saw what happened in Iraq and Afghanistan over the past 20 years. No one wants to get involved in that again. And then the question simply becomes, from a market perspective, as investors, is this something that could escalate to be something so dramatic that it could take the S&P 500 down 10%? And the answer to that, at least today, given the data we have, is unequivocally no. There's not enough juice in this to really be as bad as I think people thought it was going to be. Iran and Israel already exchanged tons of missiles with each other. Both of them achieved some level of strategic disarmament of certain areas that they wanted to collapse, Israel being a lot more effective than Iran in terms of getting rid of a lot of its nuclear facilities. So then the question becomes, do they go out into a full-on war? And again, Iranian state media today was reporting, hey, there is a world in which enrichment efforts end because Iran does not want to have the regime get toppled. And it kind of, just logically, you don't even need a media report to understand this. It's like 2 + 2 = 4. If the Iranians want to get into a war, the possibility for an Iranian revolution internally seems like it has a shot. We've already seen multiple attempts of people in Iran trying to go against the cultural norms. A lot of them have lost their lives for that. But if the Iranian regime is now involved in a war that they're likely not going to win with Israel and the United States, unless they have someone backing them, which begs the question, who's going to back them? And I think the answer is pretty much no one. Then they would have to give up their power, or they would have to risk giving up their power. And if they risk giving up their power, that's all those leaders are dead. All those generals are done. Like, where are they going to go? They're either going to be killed by their people, or they're going to have to engage in a mass slaughter campaign against their own people to try to keep their own power, which is what Assad did for almost 13 years before finally there was any change. So I think from that perspective, if they don't have allies, now if Russia steps in and says, hey, we're back in Iran today, then everything changes. But I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know if China's going to step in. And if they're not, then I think the markets are accurately pricing in that this is probably not going to be something that they should be that concerned about, which is why we're seeing some blistering green in the pre-markets. I mean, across the entire board, very hard to see any red, primarily based on the idea that this is a conflict that has escalated enough and likely won't escalate into the future. Again, anything could change, but this is how I think markets are currently pricing it in right now. Palantir right here, 140.26, Tesla 331, Hoodie 7360, NVIDIA 143 on the day. All right, we got a lot of macro data coming this week as well. Again, that big update on Meta just dropped 20 minutes ago, or less than that, 10 minutes ago. Meta right here up 2.73%. They are now going to be engaging in the process of monetizing WhatsApp, which is going to be a big deal for Meta. Real quick on that Trump mobile thing, I don't even know what to make of this, but this is Trump Mobile that got launched today.
A big part of what we've done right now in the world has been focused on technology for people who've been underserved, whether that's been in crypto.
Well, let's go to Trump.
Okay, weird. I don't know why the audio is not working there. But the point is they're launching mobile they're launching mobile phones and cell phone and telehealth data services. If anyone wants to see what the phone looks like, they've already posted what the phone looks like, which I thought was quite interesting. This is the phone. This is called the T1. There it is, the T1 phone. I don't know. I don't know what this is going to look like, or what this is going to ultimately be like, but this is what the phone is. I wonder if it's going to be powered by Android, or at this point, this is just, all right, I guess this is what Trump's trying to do. So there you go. You have the T1, and yeah, that's the phone that Trump is launching. This is not really Trump. I mean, it's part of the Trump organization, but it's his sons that have kind of used his brand and monetized his brand and his last name. To me, if this is their attempt to be like, hey, this is what's going to beat Apple because we're going to start building our own phones in the United States and show people that it's possible, I guess it's just the question, is anyone going to buy those phones? $197 right here on Apple. And I don't know. I mean, you might have some diehards in the MAGA movement that buy the phone to support Trump, but if it's not a good phone, then it might not end up getting a lot of sales. So there you go. It'll be $499. You have to put a down payment of $100. You get a 50 megapixel camera. You get a fingerprint sensor and AI face unlock. I love how they put the word AI just there to juice it up a little bit. And that is your Trump mobile phone. So if anyone buys it, let me know what it looks like. All right, this weekend, or not this weekend, this Wednesday, we're going to have FOMC, which will be implicating the rest of how the market operates. Also, by the way, Trump's Truth Social has filed for a Bitcoin and Ethereum ETF. So you got a lot of the Trump businesses that are operating in a variety of different ways. It would be so funny if that was actually made in China and they shipped it to America, just like put the finishing touches on it. It's I mean, they're saying it's made in America, but it looks like a phone that's made in China. So we're gonna find out when that officially goes live. All right. So what is Goldman Sachs saying about the FOMC meeting? The FOMC meeting they're imagining is not going to get any cuts, but they are saying we expect the median dots to be unchanged in terms of the summary of economic projections, the dot plot, with 2 cuts to 3.875% in 2025. So they're projecting 50 basis points of cuts this year. 2 cuts in 2026, 1 cut in 2027, and a 3% neutral rate long term. Meaning they are not thinking we are going to get any resemblance of a 0% interest rate anytime soon. But they do think that, we will get to 3% in the next couple of years. I think this is largely accurate. And this is another reason why I think markets are kind of pricing in that things are going to be all right. I think we get 2 cuts by the end of the year. You do have a lot of strategists that are saying we're going to get 0 cuts by the end of the year. And that, the tariff uncertainty and the lack of trade deals, all that stuff is still hard to justify in terms of JPOW giving us a cut. I take the opposite perspective here. I think it's enough to get at least 2 cuts. And the question then becomes, after those 2 cuts, is that enough for the market to hold 22 times forward on the S&P 500's multiple? And that comes down to earnings growth. And if we get earnings growth, I think it will. If we don't get earnings growth, then, it's going to be a bit expensive. But if we get 2 cuts, this market is kind of priced in for at least 1 cut, if not 2. That would be very, very beneficial for the broader markets. So FOMC is on Wednesday. Again, expecting no cut on June on the Wednesday meeting, probably no cut in July. Most likely we get a cut in September. But this meeting will be the most important to see, is Jay Powell reacting to some of the progress we've made on trade deals? And if he is reacting in a more positive way, that would be obviously very bullish. If he's not reacting to any of the level of momentum and progress we made in trade deals, then it might mean that we have higher rates for longer. Now, the other thing that was really important around FOMC is that oil prices spiked. So Jay Powell probably is going to speak on the fact that if oil prices stay elevated, it's going to damper their inflation expectations. But oil futures are down 2% right now. And so if the Iran-Israel crisis starts to end, then it's going to be exactly like April 2024. By the way, OPEC came out with a statement today, and they said they are committed to stabilizing the price of oil, aka they are ready to keep pumping, because they don't want to see oil get to 120 either, right? Like just because you're an oil producer doesn't mean you love when oil prices go high, because it also messes with demand. And so in order to have an equilibrium where you're able to make profits, you don't want to get oil to be so low, but you also don't want it to get egregious, because then no one's going to buy. So OPEC seems to be committed based on the statement they made this morning. And as a result, that should also hopefully be helping stabilize the broader oil prices. G7 is going to be this weekend as well. Let's get some coverage on that and see what that means for the broader trade war that is going on globally.
Alberta, I am standing about 20 miles from where the group of 7 leaders will be gathering today and this week in Kananaskis, Canada. President Trump got in here late last night into Calgary before flying over to Kananaskis to meet and really kick off this 2-day summit, not only with the other G7 leaders, but also with other invited officials, the European Union officials and leadership, as well as leaders of Mexico and Ukraine, others not yet confirmed so far. And take a look at this year's G7. A couple of things. One is that 5 of these 7 leaders are fairly new to their positions. It's only Italy's Meloni and France's Macron that are sort of the veterans here, although for President Trump, it is sort of course, a return to this group. And the other thing to note here is that all of the other 6 leaders have been to the White House, have been to Washington so far this year to meet with President Trump. So no new meetings for the president this week, at least not that we know of yet, but still a fairly dramatic range of issues to be discussed. Trade, of course, being at the top of that list. As you mentioned, the president spoke with reporters on his way here yesterday and did say that he expects, quote, a few new deals this week. We know he has bilaterals set, for example, with Canada and Mexico. So we'll have to see. Those deals have proven elusive so far, but it's one major deliverable we could see so far this week. Then, of course, there's the backdrop of everything going on in Israel and Iran. And the White House has told us other issues like critical minerals, AI, and energy security are going to be top of mind for them as well. But one thing, guys, that I have confirmed talking with a Canadian official last night, and this is different for this year, there will be no joint communique coming out of this G7. And that is something different. That tends to be one of the only few concrete things that comes out of a G7 summit. It's the leaders coming together sort of in a show of unity to sign on to a set of shared their goals. Canada, as the host country, because of how much disunity and how much fracturing this is this year, they're trying to avoid some disagreements, and they're not pushing for a joint statement of any kind. We might see individual leader statements, we might see some on specific issues, but no joint statement. And again, that underscores sort of the fracturing here. And I want to leave you guys with this. If we can pull up this photo from 2018, this is the last time Canada was the host country of the G7. And this became kind of an iconic photo of that summit with most of—
I think a lot of people remember this photo. This photo, this was one of those photos that has been seen many times across the world. And it was essentially Trump giving his perspective against the rest of the world that completely disagreed with how he was thinking about energy, geopolitics, and a variety of other issues. Some of those things he ended up being right on, some of those things not. But this might be something that defines the new G7.
of the leaders on one side of a table, President Trump on the other side with his arms crossed kind of defiantly. And it became this symbol of that summit when there was a joint statement. After the president left, he withdrew the U.S. from the statement once he was on Air Force One amid a disagreement with then Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. So with Canada back as the host country, with President Trump back in the White House and returning to the summit this year, there's a lot of speculation here, guys, from everyone I've spoken with as to whether we might see some sort of similar dynamic this time around. Guys?
Like, I guess by getting rid of that joint communique, you take some of the drama out of it in advance. We've kind of been hearing that was going to be the deal, that there are just too many issues where they have too many different opinions to be able to get everybody on the same page.
I mean, seeing John Bolton there shows you how long ago and how different everything is at this point.
Absolutely. That's right. And yet, Joe, I will say the similarities, the biggest one I'm only going to highlight is just the trade issues that we're back into that, with all these side deals wanting to be struck and the tariffs that are back on stage.
All right, folks, we got 2 minutes. 2 minutes. The Zoom is a little bit better right now. The blurriness. Okay, that's a little bit, it's better than what it was before. Now the background is blurry, but like I'm in focus. Okay, cool. That's at least not horrible. This is definitely different. We don't usually do it like this. All right, so we got 2 minutes until the market opens. Again, the major updates this morning, Israel and Iran over the weekend. It looks like that is starting to get resolved. Hopefully, broader markets are pricing in that's going to get resolved. G7 on Wednesday, Thursday is definitely going to have some implications for how the markets think of overall trade deals, trade negotiations. There were some headlines this morning that Trump is getting close to a deal with the EU. I mean, we'll see it when we see it. At this point, we've been told that we're close with South Korea, Japan, India. None of those deals have materialized. So hopefully we actually get some solid updates on that soon. And then, we're going to see how the market reacts to that. Palantir right here at 140 in the pre-markets. Put in the chat if you think Palantir holds 140. Put in the chat if you think Palantir holds 140. Was that a pre-market phenomena, or do we get it when the market opens as well? We got about 30 seconds. You got Circle that's pumping, Oklo that's pumping, Nvidia up about 2%. You're seeing a variety of names get some level or get some momentum right here and surpass different levels as we get into this market open. Again, pre-markets are very green on the idea that oil is red, which means oil prices theoretically are stabilizing, and the broader markets don't feel that the Iran-Israel situation is going to be as hostile as they thought probably on Friday. So here we go. Monday morning, 9:30 a.m. Thank you, everybody, for being here. The stock market is once again open. Wake your ass up. Let's get into it. Palantir opens at $140 on the day, 140.5. It was not a pre-market phenomena, and quite frankly, it doesn't look like it's stopping at 140 just yet. You got massive bids that are coming in to buy this above 140. Resistance at 141 on Palantir is 41,000 shares. That's not a ton of resistance. We got to see if the volume continues to persist. Palantir up about 2.25%. It's a new all-time high, 140.80. 140.94, 41,000 shares separated from 141. Oh, I think it touched it. We touched 141. It was for, you can't even see it right there, but it was for literally a second. On Webull, did we have 141? Yes, we have 141. 141.35. Okay, that was quick. That was super quick because no one saw that. Or at least, there it is. 141. Oh my goodness. Market cap $334 billion. for Palantir. 142 resistance is 37,000 shares. 37,000 shares. NVIDIA opens up at 144. Tesla, 330. Robinhood, 74.17. SoFi, 14.36. Grabs at 470. Google's at 175. Meta is at 699, up about 2.5%. Salesforce, 261. You got Google right here at 175. Pinterest at 34.70. Palantir, 141.52. Again, 40,000 shares away from $142. Delta Airlines at 48. Red Cat at 840. XLE, that's the energy ETF, that is down about 0.5% given oil prices are down. Tesla 329, and then Palantir 20 cents away. 20 cents away from 142. We hit 141.99. We hit 141.99. Usually when we get this close, there you go, 142. 142 on Palantir. Up 3.5% on the day. We thought all-time highs at 137 last Friday were incredible. Or that was what, last Thursday, Wednesday or Thursday? Here you go. 142. Put in the chat what's one word to describe how you're feeling right now. Put in the chat what's one word to describe how you're feeling right now. 143 resistance, because you know what's better than 142, is 143. 25,000 shares. Sorry, 45,000. 45,000 shares at 143. Where's Grab? Grab 470. All right, Grab's up about 3% right here. Not too bad. CEG, Constellation Energy, that's up about 3%. Again, NVIDIA 144. Let me check NVIDIA 145 resistance. Again, the reason I think Palantir is getting this momentum, quite frankly, there's nothing like super fundamental in terms of numbers or deals. I really do think it's the perception of the market saying, hey, this is the stock or this is the company that is protecting Israel right now and helping Israel do what they're doing in Iran. And as a result, if the market is impressed by how they are executing and how that software is being deployed, seems like the perception of that is enough to get the market to say, we want to get exposure to a company like Palantir. If this escalation theoretically could escalate as well, Palantir software would be in more demand. So that could be one of the preliminary reasons the market is thinking of Palantir. 145 resistance on NVIDIA is 828,000 shares. 828,000 shares. We are 15 cents away from 143. 15 cents away from 143. Oklo 72. Why is Oklo up 13%? Robinhood 75. Why is Oklo up 14%? What? I guess Oklo continues to run. Did we hit 143? No, we hit 142.99. 142.99. I mean, we're pretty close. 142.99. That's my high. I think we are literally 1 cent away. I would imagine we hit 143. Again, there's 45,000 shares at 143. 51,000 shares at 143. 51,000 shares. My goodness. Yup, Oklo's mooning. Oklo, Robinhood, all these guys having some fun. Palantir again, just under that 143 circle right here, up 11% as we get into the market open. Tesla right here, 328. NVIDIA, 143, pulling back from that 144 level. SoFi, 1443. Grabs at 469. Google, basically flattish on the day, up about a 0.3%. Meta from 680 to 700. So Meta's having a really fun morning right here. Palantir, 143. 143 on Palantir. My goodness. Folks, it's happening. It's freaking happening in front of us. 143 on Palantir, 144 resistance, 35,000 shares. 144 at 35,000 shares. Palantir now just got rejected at 143.38. So it got up to there, now it got hit. I definitely feel a little bit of FOMO is going on right now. I could imagine some people piling in because, they think that this thing's taking off. And so this is, maybe this is institutional, maybe this is retail, but whatever it is definitely helping the stock. Reddit right here is up 5% as well. What about HIMS? HIMS is also up 4%. Okay. So you got Tessie, NVIDIA, all these are up. HIMS is up. Grab is up about 2.3. AMD 120, that's up 3%. They had a great AMD event last Thursday. Roblox right here, 99.69, that's up 2.5. Reddit's at 125, that's up 5%. Reddit did get an upgrade this morning. We'll talk about that. I think that's the reason why it's getting some love. Bitcoin right here, 106. MicroStrategy again did buy a crap ton of shares, or a crap ton of Bitcoin. 10,000 Bitcoin, 1 billion. They spent 387 right here on MicroStrategy. Tesla right here, 327. Tesla looks like it's about to go red. That one is getting a red candle. Palantir right back to 143. HIMS is at 58. Dude, what a Monday morning, huh? Does this make up for the fact that I was 7 minutes late? This has to make up for the fact that I was late, dude. This has to make up for it. HIMS 58, Nebius. I own this in my ETF. I don't actually have an ETF for those that are watching. I don't manage it. It's an imaginary one. 4901. That's up 4% on the day. Yeah, we cool. Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. Like, dude, I wasn't trying to be late. This stupid camera, like, it was breaking my heart every minute I saw it ticking. I was like, I need to fix this camera. It's intense pressure, bro. But we're here. We're live. Tesla 326. Yeah, Tesla's about to go red. Tesla looks like it's about to go red. Palantir chilling at 143. My goodness. ASTS. What about that one? ASTS up 6%, basically back where it was on Friday. Be late every day now. Oh, you don't have to worry about that. If that's what you guys, you don't have to worry about that. I can make that happen. Circle. Why is Circle up 16%? Why is it up 6? Why is like, okay, so here's the question to everybody. Is this euphoria? Is this all just hype? Or is this a bull market? Like what is going on? Why is Circle up 17%? Why is Oklo? There's no nuclear news, right? Well, actually, technically, if oil prices are getting hit, which although they're down, they're still up a lot from where they were 2 weeks ago. Maybe people could be looking to other sources of power, like a nuclear energy, like a Oklo. I mean, I know that's a little bit of a stretch here, but maybe that's the reason. Nano nuclear, that's up 11.9%. Unless they got a deal this morning, I don't know why that's taking case. Arrow is 32.72. So whoever got into this IPO, let me know if you sold. If you didn't, if you got in at $10, $12, you're up 300%. So congrats. Robin didn't give me any shares, unfortunately. That's up 35% today. I think it closed at 25 last week. Yeah, it closed at like 25-ish. Back up 33% right here, 34%. That's incredible. Palantir again, still at 143, holding 143. Where is Amazon? Dude, AWS started unfollowing a bunch of accounts over the weekend in the cloud space and in the tech space. Like they unfollowed GitHub. Why is there like tech beef going on, like rapper beef? But yeah, AWS started unfollowing a ton of these like big tech company accounts. And I don't know why they started unfollowing them, but it seems like there's some beef. Palantir 143.15. 143.15. Is AMD pumping? AMD, wow, 3.5%. Yup, AMD back to 120. Yeah, on X. They followed them on X. HIMS, are we touching 60? We're up there. I actually bought 50 shares of it. So I did some buying in the morning. I bought 5 shares of Tesla. I bought 8 shares of Palantir at 140.5. The reason I bought is because I had an uneven number because one of you guys gave me a super chat last week to buy a share. And so the share count became uneven. So I bought 8 shares of Palantir, about 5 shares of, about 50 shares of HIMS. I bought 25 shares of Hood. And then what else did I buy? I think that's it. Okay. Yeah. So I bought 25 shares of Hood in the morning, 8 shares of Palantir, 5 shares of Tesla, and then 50 shares of HIMS. So, and the reason I did it in the morning is because the only reason I did is because I was like, wait a second, dude. If the market's pricing in that Iran-Israel is not going to be that big of a deal, we're going higher. So that was the logic for a little bit of buying in the pre-markets. But outside of that, seems like the market is definitely getting excited for some of this momentum. Microsoft all-time highs. Palo Alto Networks 198, MicroStrategy 386, AMD 120, Palantir. Oh boy, 40 cents away. 40 cents away from 140. 40 cents away. Let me check. Or sorry, for 144. Let me check resistance again. 144 is 23,000 shares. 23,000. Oh, we're 2 cents away. We no, we hit it. We hit 144. We hit 144. I see it right there. 144.01. It was there for a second. No, now we're back. There she goes. 144. On Webull, we hit 144.07. Did it update right there? Yep, 144.09 on Hood. There you go, folks. $144. Market cap, $339 billion for Palantir. Congrats. My cousin just texted me. She says, what type of war is this? Everything is green. Well, there you go. Dude, the war dip is always the dip to buy. If anyone bought it on Friday, I think I bought a little bit of Hood, but that's it. But the war dip tends to be the dip that you get some momentum on, because if it's not going to be World War III, then markets kind of go back to normal and they don't price it in as aggressively as the headlines may suggest. Grab right here 470. That's up about 3% of the day, which is nice. SoFi 1444, PayPal 7160, Nvidia 143.70, and then Palantir. There she goes, 144. 144. Navitas, is that one struggling? NVTS, that one is down about 1%, still up a lot from the past 2 weeks. So that's okay. AppLovin, see, that's weird. AppLovin is the poster child for momentum. AppLovin, Palantir, and Hood have kind of been the poster child for momentum for the past 5 months. They all went up in February. They all went down in February. They've all kind of recovered. That one has not recovered since S&P inclusion, since it didn't get into the S&P. So that one's kind of been, that one was really one that people bought just for S&P. And they kind of left after they didn't get in. Interactive Brokers is up a little bit. TTD is up a little bit. That's up 1% even with the meta news. What about the semis? The semis today, let's take a look at the semis. All the semis are green. All the semis are green. ASML is up. Broadcom's up. Dell is up. AMD is up. NVIDIA is up. Micron's up. TSM is up. Qualcomm's up. All of them about 1 to 2%. Marvell, that one's also up. So all the semis not doing too bad on the day. And Palantir still holding just above 144. 144.20. 144.20. Mark Campbell, thank you for becoming a channel member. I appreciate it. Mark Campbell, thank you for being here. Thank you for becoming a channel member. Your soup was really good when I was younger because I was a fan of chicken noodles. So thank you, Mark Campbell, for being here. Nick B Investing, thank you for the 10 pounds. Let's go. Hood Meta Hymns, thank you for being here. And thank you for the super chat as well. Pounds right here, 144.31. 144.31. D-Wave's flying as well. D-Wave QBTS. Dude, what a Monday morning. D-Wave's up 8%. D-Wave's up 8%. 144.50. What is going on, bro? Is this an institution? Is this just retail? Like, is this Warren Buffett? Like, who's coming in? Who's coming in? Chat says all these years and your jokes still suck. You know, that one was not. You could say that joke was bad. It didn't suck. Okay, suck is a bit aggressive. All right. And I see some of you guys typed LOL in the chat. So like some of you guys appreciated it, even if Chad didn't. But suck is it's a little mean. You know what's also a little mean? I just got to show this real quick. By the way, again, we talked about this on Friday. The reason the markets are, up right now, or the reason why you can't fade the markets is because Tom Lee is dressed like this in a pizza store. He had no puts to hedge against the pizza stains. Look at him looking like a pimp in the pizza store. And what's also really, really sad is, Chad said you only dream of having this level of swagger. I said I already do. If you guys know what I'm talking about, AIP Con. This is what your boy's outfit was 2 AIP Cons ago. And then this guy says, Walmart Tom Lee. I love Tom Lee. So if I get to be Walmart Tom Lee, then I don't mind. At least he didn't say Temu Tom Lee. That would have been pretty bad. But Walmart Tom Lee, I'll take it. I'll take Walmart Tom Lee. So I'll take it. Palantir right here, 144.20, 145 resistance. I think it was 45,000 shares. It is a little bit less than that, I think. No, 116,000. Okay, so it increased. 116,000. So we got to get through about 100 grand of shares. 144.70. It looks like it wants it, folks. It really looks like it wants it. Market cap 340.7 billion on Palantir. NVIDIA 143. Tesla struggling, but up 1% roundabout. Robin at 74.79. Grab at 470. Google at 175. Again, the quantum names, Rigetti. That one is up 3%. Martin Shkreli is probably not happy. IONQ, that's slightly down. Oh, the IONQ founder, if I'm not wrong, sold 80% of his shares, the CEO. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that was the headline. He sold 80% of his shares. D-Wave up 9%. So Martin might have an argument against IONQ. Maybe he doesn't have an argument against quantum as an entire sector, but yeah, he did dump a decent chunk of those shares. Juan Ortiz, thank you for the $10 super chat. Do you think the 627, 150 calls are safe, or am I going to have to roll them? I mean, look, dude, at this point, I would imagine 150 is safe. I have 135 for the end of the month, so I'm going to have to be rolling those 135s. Yeah, dude, I think the 150s are safe. And if it gets to 150, the question is it going to get to 170 and run away from you? I would say no. I think it's going to stay in a range, even if it goes higher than that to around 155, maybe max 160. And again, that would be a lot of momentum and a lot of market cap added for relatively no reason other than the market's perception of Palantir, which is fine. But you got to ask yourself just the question right there is like, how much higher can it go? And again, maybe you can just keep going. I didn't think it would get to 145 this soon, but basically that's where we are. Nonetheless, again, This is not, to me, 2024 where you have a covered call at 30 and then it goes to 80, right? This is, hey, if you had a cover call at 135 and it goes even to 150, you are within a 10 to 15% range where you can manage the situation. You're never going to be perfect when you're dealing with covered calls, but can you manage it is the question. And so I think 150 for 627 is not horrible, and you can manage it if it takes place. But if you don't want to risk it, go to 160, go to 165, right? Get more conservative if you really don't want to be in the position where you have to actively manage it. But if you do care about actively managing it, then I think that's not the worst thing in the world. 144.29. We did hit 144.85 at one point. TMC, that one's also getting some love right here. The metals company, that's up 20% on the day. That one has been talked a lot about in the broader semiconductor supply chain. Robinhood 75 again. ASTS 10% up on the day. Looks like it's continuing its momentum from the deal they had on Friday. It was a timely deep dive we did on them last Thursday. That one doing very well. So congrats to the Space Mob. Rocket Lab 2620. That's also up 3%. Tessie 327. NVIDIA 143 on the day. Yeah, Circle. Okay, this one I don't know what to say, dude. It's up 20%. I don't know what to say about Circle. I don't know if stable coins are that big of a deal. I guess they are to the market, but I mean, congrats if you're in it. 160 on Circle, up 20%. Circle now they IPO'd at 30, so they're up 500%. They're up 500%. Palantir just below 144 right there. Dude, I don't know. Like if you expected Circle to be up 500%, be my guest, but I'm definitely not chasing it right here. That's for damn sure. I'm not chasing this thing. And whoever's buying it at 160 is obviously expecting it to go higher. They must know something about stablecoins that I don't know about. $35 billion company. I mean, look, I know I'm the last person to speak, given I hold Palantir and given that valuation is aggressive, but also, you can point to a narrative around Palantir that could, in a respect, justify holistically, even if not quantitatively, the valuation. I don't really know what that narrative is for Circle. I'm sure it's out there. Does it deserve to be a $35 billion narrative? I don't know. But for those that believed in it, it is. And even if I'm not chasing it, I mean, it's still very amazing to see get some of that momentum right here. 160 right here on Circle. Where is HIMS? HIMS right here is at 58.19. That's up 5%. Okay, so the HIMS account posted some new ad or something. HIMS and Hers. They posted something that they're announcing some new product. That could also be a reason why it's jumping. It's like a kind of a cryptic ad. No one really knows what the ad is going to, what the product is going to be. But June 18th, we're going to get more details on HIMS. And so that new product might be something that's the street's thinking about as well. 143.65 right here on Palantir, up about 5% on the day. AMD also getting some love, up 4% right here, 4.6. And then Arrow, this is another stock I wouldn't chase. Like, look, at the end of the day, unless you're good at swing trading or you're good at TA, chasing some of this stuff is in my opinion very difficult. And there are people that know how to do it very well, like Jason. Jason knows how to swing trade and he looks at TA and all that stuff. Now I don't think he's chasing any of these IPOs, but if you think Arrow on the charts looks like it's going to 40, then at 31 it's a good deal. The question is, like, it's already up 300%. Circle's already up 500%. CoreWeave's already up 550%, right? Like, so some of these names is just hard to touch. It really is just hard to touch, but there are buyers that are coming in and giving it a bid. Corey right here up about 1.5% on the Robinhood back to 75. Robinhood back to 75, 75.16 up about 3.5% on the day. NVIDIA 144, Robinhood 75. I bought 100 shares at 73 or 74 on Friday. And then I bought about 25 shares this morning at, I think, 73.50. Palantir right back at 144. And then Tessie 328. 328. UNH, is UNH red? UNH is red, down about 1%. Don't know why UNH is red, but that one is down. And we are seeing some pain right there. And again, the reason I'm buying Hood right here is not because I'm chasing. The reason I'm buying Hood is just because, like, that's a big position and I have conviction and I'm okay with averaging up. So for the people that bought Circle at 40, if you feel conviction and averaging up at 160, be my guest. The question is just how deep is your conviction compared to the valuation and then the growth estimates for the company long term. Nick said, I just bought some HIMS calls for this week on June 20th. What strike did you buy, Nick? I'm going to guess you bought 65 strikes. That's my guess. My guess is you bought 65 strikes. MU is up 3%. Micron, that's green as well. Palantir back to 144. Was just under for a second. Micron, wow, that one. Nice addition for Steve's ETF. That one is up 3% right here. The Reddit upgrade. Yes, let's talk about that for a second. So Reddit, again, the reason Reddit fell last time was because they are seen as someone or a company that's going to lose momentum based on the Google search stuff, because they're the biggest beneficiary of search, and if search is declining, Reddit might decline. But they got an upgrade this morning that kind of goes the opposite of that. And I think that's why the stock is getting some love. So Reddit is now the second most cited site in Google's AI overviews. Yeah, that'll do it. Right behind Quora, according to SEMrush. The bump comes after a 60 million content licensing deal with Google in 2024, but analysts say it may not translate to real gains. Much of Reddit's traffic is coming from logged out users who bounce fast, which limits ad value. Even with more citations, AI overviews summarize the info right on Google's page, making clicks back to Reddit less likely. So the argument here from Business Insider, or from SEMrush, Business Insider is reporting it, SEMrush is a SEO agency, is that, hey, in terms of Google AI overviews, the number 2 link that is popping up is Reddit, which is bullish because that means more clicks to Reddit. The question is, how much can they monetize those clicks coming back to the website? And that's why Reddit is up 5%. I don't know why UNH is down. Is it kind of just market going risk on and getting out of growth or getting out of value? Maybe that's the reason. Where's Berkshire Hathaway today? Berkshire Hathaway, that one slightly up on the day. Whereas Verizon is flat on the day as well. UNH's ex-divvy. Oh, that could be the reason. Okay, that makes more sense. That actually makes more sense. And ASTS, that one's still mooning, literally onto the moon, 42.15, up 9.3% on the day. All right, let's see. Do we have any macro data coming out this morning at 10 a.m.? Let's see. No, but tonight. Wow, tonight we get a interest rate decision from the Bank of Japan. Most likely they're going to, I would imagine, pause if they hike. That would be a bit surprising, but I don't think that's going to happen. We do have a bunch of T-bill auctions today, 3-month and 6-month bill auctions. We also have a 20-year bond auction again today. Oh, that's something to watch out for, folks, at 1 p.m. Last time we had a 20-year bond auction. The street expected 4.97%. It came in at like 5.13. Street got really upset. S&P fell 1.5%. This morning, the street's expecting 5.047 on the coupon. 5.047 on the coupon on this bond auction. Robinhood 75.14. And that's at 1 p.m. So that could be, if it goes the opposite way, something that could hurt the broader market. But if it's a nothing burger, then that should be okay. HIMS right here, 59. HIMS looking like it wants to go to 60. Nick says he has $64 calls this week. All right, June 18th. By the way, the Japanese Prime Minister is coming to the United States and Canada for the next 5 days. He's already here. He came over the weekend. And that means we're going to be getting some negotiating happening throughout the week. And then on June 18th, we have FOMC. And then we also have that HIMS product launch. Also, tomorrow, Robinhood's doing a live demo launch at, I think, 12 p.m. So I'll stream that on the channel. But they're introducing some new products as well, which we'll get to check out. Robinhood right here, 75.10. And then Palantir, 143.86 currently right now. SMR and Oklo also getting some love. SMR right there. There you go. Wow. So, dude, so what is the headline on nuclear today? What is the reason that's pumping? What is the reason that's pumping? I see zero headlines. I see nothing. It feels like it's just outside of, again, the most obvious thing is the market looking to get exposure to other forms of energy because of oil prices. But still, this is aggressive. SMR up 16%, Nano Nuclear up 15%, and then Oklo all-time highs up 10% at $70 on the day. Do we have any other earnings today? Let me see. Last week we had Adobe. No, today we have Lennar, which is a home builder. So that's pretty much it. Last week we had most of them get done. Rocket Lab up about 2.7, Disney up 0.5%, HIMS again up 6.7. Let me check resistance at 60 on HIMS. Palantir again, 143.70, Hood 75.12, HIMS up almost 7% on the day. $60 resistance is 5,000 shares. 5,000 shares, which is not crazy. Grab right here at 470 as well, up about 2.7%. We looked at TMC, that's up a lot. Wedbush upgraded Oklo to 75. All right, so Dan Ives giving Oklo a little bit of a pump. That could be the reason. And then AMD, in terms of the semis, wow, dude. Absolutely outperforming NVIDIA today. And I think the market, but NVIDIA not too far away from 145. I think the market's kind of pricing in whatever Lisa Su talked about on Thursday or Friday. And part of what she talked about is their partnership with XAI, their partnership with OpenAI. And you had even Sam Altman come on stage and explain how beneficial these AMD chips have been to the training process of their models. So obviously I still like NVIDIA just because I have a heavier position in it, but I don't think you're going to be in a bad spot 5 years from now buying AMD or NVIDIA. It seems like this AI revolution will require both. So AMD right here, up 5.3% on the day. AMD got price target upgrades. Okay, that could explain it. I'll try to get some of those upgrades in a second. Wait, no, we talked about that. We talked Key Blank, Oppenheimer. We talked on Friday because the event was on Thursday. They got upgraded pretty much across the board to 180 to 215. Oh, Piper Sandler this morning gave them 140 from 125. So yeah, I guess just more and more upgrades are helping them on the day. Wall Street Journal headline. Here we go. Wall Street Journal headline on Iran, Israel. This is also something that the market kind of expected. Here we go. Let me pull this up. The headline is Iran signals it wants to de-escalate hostilities with Israel. Iran says privately it will resume talks if the U.S. stays out of the fight. Yeah, I think this is what everyone thought. This is what we talked about in the morning. So we talked about in the morning. Dude, like it's kind of logical. No one wants to help Iran. Russia doesn't want to help them. China doesn't want to help them. The Saudis don't want to help them. Like no one really wants to prop them up in a war against Israel, which really is a war against the United States. The United States doesn't want to intervene in this stuff, so they want to get it to die down, which is why they're probably urging the Iranians to just take the damn deal and get it over with. Israel already got rid of most of the nuclear facilities and killed some of the head nuclear scientists on Thursday night. So, I mean, like really, where is the value to continuing enrichment or the process of trying to gain enrichment? Palantir back to 144, Robin at 75.30. And then finally, to top it all off, at the end of the day, Iran knows they don't have the military scale or weaponry to be able to meaningfully engage in a war that's going to last for a long time. They just know they don't have it. And they know that if that regime gets toppled, all the leaders are dead. And that doesn't mean there's going to be some amazing democracy in Iran, but it does mean that the people that are leading right now are dead. They're done. And they lose all their power. And someone else that might be worse than them might get into power, but they lose their power for sure if they get toppled. And I think from that perspective, the market's like, all right, so this is over with. That's it. The market's like, all right, cool, this is over with. NVIDIA right here, 144.70. Let me check 145 resistance. But I think the market is saying, cool, we're done. These guys went back and forth. And at the end of the day, they are ready to take the deal. NVIDIA 145, 702,000 shares. 702,000 shares. Dude, even over the weekend, the UK came out, France came out, all of them came out with statements saying, hey, if Iran meaningfully attacks Israel or gets into like some broader escalation that is worse than what people are thinking, they will be on the front lines helping them. Macron said it, Steimer said it. I mean, all these guys are ready to take Israel's side. So and no one from the adversaries of the West, China, Russia, etc., have said, oh, we're ready to back Iran. Like no one's come out with a definitive statement saying, hey, we got them. We're going to prop them up. We're going to make sure that they're safe. No one wants to help them. And so I think at some level, it's just like logically, like as a regime, you cannot survive if you don't have the ability to fight. Meta right here, 697. And I think they know they might not have a chance to fight. Schubert says, Amit, I finally hit green in my port all time. Thank you. Congrats, brother. I think a lot of you guys are hitting all-time highs in the portfolio as well, which is amazing. So congrats to everybody. It looks like, again, Moody's, bond auction, Iran, Israel. This market wants all-time highs. And NVIDIA is 15 cents away from 145. This market wants all-time highs. Did we get 60 on HIMS? 60.30 on HIMS, up 8.8%, baby. 8.8%. There you go. Back to 60. Consolidating 50 for two weeks. Back to 60. Some of you guys think Amit, Iran didn't start this. I do not care who started this. I care about this ending. So you can assume whatever political affiliation you want from me. I don't care. I don't care who started it. I care that it ends. And what it looks like is the market is pricing in that it's going to end relatively soon. And the reason it's going to end is because Iran likely cannot fight back. So for whatever reason it started. It seems like, again, the market is pointing pretty obviously today that it's coming to an end. And if that's the case, Iran's going to take the enrichment deal. They're going to get the sanctions lifted off of them. America's going to start trading with Iran, which technically could be good for tariffs if we actually start doing business with Iran, because we haven't for the past 5 years outside of oil because of all the sanctions. And that could be another tailwind for the broader economy as well. Palantir right here just got to 144 again, then got hit at 143.90. So it's touched 144 at least 5 times today. It looks like it's ready to go back there. 144.86 was the all-time high. And then NVIDIA, 144.70 right now. What does Iran have that we want? Well, the number one thing that they have that we don't want them to have is a nuclear ambition. And no one in the world wants them to have nuclear. I mean, even the Middle Eastern countries don't want them to have nuclear weapons. So the number, it's not even more what they have that we want from like a trade perspective. It's more so, hey, they're going to start buying more shit from us, which is good. But B, if we don't sanction them as aggressively, that could theoretically lower oil prices even more, because it could open up other countries to start doing trade with them when it comes to oil. And then C, from a global safety perspective, it guarantees Palantir back to 144 again, that they're not going to get a nuke, which is the biggest thing that I think the market is caring about right now. So again, maybe Iran fights back. Maybe the Wall Street Journal headlines are fake. Maybe they legitimately say, nope, we're going back. We're fighting hard. We're not going to give up, yada, yada. The question is just, do they have the military capabilities to go up against Israel? And do they have the support geopolitically from allies, if they have any meaningful allies, to help them? I don't know. And it doesn't seem likely. But I think over the coming weeks, we are going to have more details on this. Is Amit on Twitch as well? No, only YouTube. Pretty much only streaming on YouTube. Okay, what else do we have going on? Circle, is that one still moving? Circle, 19%. That one's not stopping. Tesla, 328. NVIDIA, 144.60. Hood, 74.81. Let's see any other headlines we have. Oil futures are still down. All right, this we got from Bloomberg right here. Iran is signaling it wants to ease tensions with Israel and resume nuclear negotiations, sending messages through Arab intermediaries to both Israel and the U.S., officials say. Tehran has told Arab leaders it's open to talk if the U.S. stays out of the fighting, and warned it may escalate its nuclear program if diplomacy stalls. Wow. Again, that's coming from Bloomberg. It might be wrong, but this is what they're reporting right now. Despite Iranian outreach, Israel continues its air campaign targeting military leaders and leaders in nuclear sites with little signs of stopping. Prime Minister Netanyahu has vowed to continue until Iran's nuclear and missile programs are dismantled, though regime change isn't officially the goal. Iran believes Israel lacks a clear exit strategy and hopes pressure will push Israel towards talks. Meanwhile, the Gulf states are urging the U.S. to rein in Israel, warning the conflict could threaten regional stability and energy markets. Wow, so this narrative might actually switch from Iran fighting back to the U.S. having to rein in Israel, from going for the literal, destruction of the country, given most of their strategic initiatives have been achieved based on them getting rid of the nuclear facilities and killing some of the head generals back on Friday. That's when the narrative was shift to say to kind of Israel, like, hey, you guys got done what you wanted to get done. Now you got to chill out and let Iran just continue to operate the way they've been operating and sign this nuclear deal. That's where I think Trump would really try to use some of his political capital to get Netanyahu to chill out. Because like, look, if they did what they needed to do, they got rid of some of the nuclear facilities. They were able to scare Iran into not wanting to continue their enrichment program and to like get ready to accept the deal, and they still are striking them. I think Trump would be pissed off, because the only reason you would still strike them after you've achieved your strategic initiatives is for a regime change. And maybe that's what Israel wants to go for, but I do not think that's what Trump wants to go for. I think Trump wants to focus on China, and he wants to get credit for a diplomatic deal with Iran, even if diplomacy took some force here. And I don't think he wants to figure out how to install a new regime inside of Iran. So that is definitely something we're going to have to keep an eye on over the coming days. NVIDIA right here, 144.45, could not get above that 145 pump. And then Palantir right here, 143.37 right now. Oil is down 2%. That is correct, which is definitely good for the broader markets as well. Scott says, buying my first business today, guys. It's because of Palantir and amidst consistent news that got me in the money to buy this business. Scott, congrats, bro. What's the business? I'm curious now. That's amazing, bro. See, and that's the beauty of the markets, right? You can invest in Alex Karp give him a couple years, have him 10x your money, and then you can go buy a cash flowing business and build something more sustainable. Like, that's incredible, dude. Congrats, man. Very, very curious what the business is. We know Dougie in the channel. He bought a laundromat with some of his gains. So, you know, these basic cash flowing businesses, not tech companies, not super exciting. They can be money printers over the long term and very, very reliable as a source of revenue. Grab right here, 469, Google 171, Meta 699. Again, Meta WhatsApp monetization is the reason why Meta is getting a little bit of a pump right here. And that's why we're seeing some green. Let's get some more coverage right here on morning. Like, we got some more updates right here as Trump gets ready to begin some more negotiations.
He's about to get underway. For that, we'll get back to Megan Casella, who is live from Alberta with the latest. Morning, Megan.
Hey, good morning again, guys, from Alberta. It is starting to warm up here as the sun gets a little bit higher in the sky. Leaders have been arriving about 20 miles.
Okay. I know this has been, I caught myself quick this time. I know this has been multiple times in a row, but we're back. Okay. I'm sorry.
From here in Kananaskis, Canada, all day yesterday as well as today. It's the G7 leaders and some other invited officials from the EU, from Australia, from Brazil, the United Nations as well. All of them going to be here for this 2-day summit. And as for Trump's schedule today, you mentioned key meetings. He's about to sit down in the next hour with Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney. You can kind of think of that meeting as a little bit of an upside if they do manage to strike a trade deal, but a lot of downside if things go south between those two leaders. So all eyes on that. We do expect to see them on camera. We'll bring you that when we have it. Right after that, we have the official G7 welcome, and then we have a couple of working sessions on the economic growth globally, as well as the global economic outlook as well. The backdrop to all of those conversations, guys, and for much of this week is going to be trade and tariffs, with Trump's trade war really sort of being the
ASTS 4250.
elephant in the room here. All of these leaders trying to strike a deal, all of them wanting to confront the president in sort of a measured way on those tariffs and try to avoid that July 9th deadline when tariffs are set to kick back into effect. And when you think about that, I want to flag one piece of news we do have out of Canada so far is that Canadian officials confirmed for me last night there will be no joint communique coming out of this summit this week. That is one of the few concrete deliverables we tend to get from a G7. All of the leaders sort of signing on in a show of unity to some shared goals, economic goals usually, as well as foreign policy, social commitments as well. In order to avoid disagreements, there is not going to be any statement. Canada, as the host country, is not pushing for that at all. We might see individual leader statements, but that's it. And so when you think about that, everyone that I talked to here, when I talked about what to expect this week, mentions this photo we can pull up for you from 2018. This is the last time that Canada hosted the G7 7 years ago, and it became sort of an iconic symbol of that summit when trade and tariffs once again were the center of conversations. It's all the leaders on one side of a table, the president with his arms crossed pretty defiantly on the other. And you guys will remember that was the meeting when the president did sign on to the joint statement. All the leaders had signed on to it. After he left, then Prime Minister Justin Trudeau had some harsh words about the tariffs, and President Trump then pulled out of the joint statement to much.
So we're going to see if that gets replicated this time again. But that picture, again, was pretty iconic from the last one. 74.94 right here on Palantir. Tesla at 330. Basically where I bought it at this morning. Tesla right here at 330, up about 1.45%. Palantir 143. Palantir still up 4% on the day, even if it's not able to crack that 144 level and stay above it, at least yet. Google 175. Grab right here 469. SoFi 1446. Broader market still staying relatively green. Quantum, IONQ, even after the CEO sold 80% of his stake, market does not care. This is why Skrelly could be wrong on this short. It's just a classic example of someone maybe being right about the thesis, but being wrong about the price. I mean, dude, like, and we've seen this before happen in a pretty epic way. By the way, D-Wave up 10%. Bill Ackman and Herbalife. Herbalife absolutely was a freaking MLM. 1000%. It was a multi-level marketing scheme. He was right. And he AMD, by the way, up 6%. He shorted it and pledged all the profits to charity. Like, he didn't even care about making money. He just wanted to be right for his reputation. And he was right, but the stock ended up never reflecting him being correct because Carl Icahn got involved. Yeah, there were different factors outside of the business itself. So Skrelly he could, you know, be as right as he wants to believe on the thesis on quantum, but if the stocks don't cooperate, this is just not one of those things that has to go in his favor. Rigetti right here up 6%. So all the quantum names getting some love, and then AMD, what a monster day, dude. Okay, for the ETFs, we need to use the closing price on Friday. I'm going to convince everybody to use the closing price on Friday, because we said we would use the closing price on Monday, but Monday looks like it's going to be a decent day. So I think I can get everyone to say, let's use the closing price on Friday, because it's going to help everyone, not just me. It's going to help everybody. So I would much rather use Palantir closing at 135 for my ETF versus 140. That would be better. But we got some AMD in there. We got some Tesla. We got some Hood. We got some Palantir. You know, I know some picks maybe not amazing, but I think there's a world a year from now. Let's see where some of these can really become big outperformers. AMD right here up 6.4% on the day. Look at RGC. That's the one that went crazy, right? RGC. Goodness gracious. Okay, so I think they did a 100 for one split, if I'm not wrong, or something, a 10 for one split. They're up 244% after the split. Was it a reverse split, or was it a forward? It'd have to be a forward split. I don't think it was a reverse split, because it would be down on that. So it looks like off the split, this thing is still up 240%. My goodness, dude. Absolutely wild. Absolutely freaking wild. What a market, dude. What a Monday. What a Monday. So many different names getting love. NVIDIA trying to crack 145, and then Palantir 143. Again, look, I don't hate covered calls here. I really don't. Let's just look at some of the premiums, dude. Like, there is a world in which you can bet, hey, it's not going to go to 160 in a month, which I don't think is a crazy bet to make. And if it does, I think you can manage that situation versus just believing that it's, you know, going to 200 next week. So if we go to July 18th, which is a month from now, yeah, dude, come on, bro. The 160 call is paying you $380. $380. That means even today, if I bought 100 shares of Palantir at 143, so 14,300, 380 divided by 14,300, that's a 2.6% of return, even if I bought the stock today, much less if you have an average that's well below 143. The 150 is paying you 670. What about this week? What about June 20th? June 20th, even the 160 for June 20th, 5 days from now, paying you 17 cents. 145 is paying you $2.55 by the end of this week. 150 is paying you $1.11 by the end of this week. 155 is paying you 45 cents. I mean, I don't hate it. I don't hate it. 160 for my weeklies. Yeah, I mean, look, it's not the worst in the world to get a little bit extra income off betting the stock at all-time highs. You know, doesn't go at 175 by the end of the month. Salesforce right here, 262. Elf right here, 1.5. Google, 175. Google, the interesting thing for Google is, like, what's their next step, right? They kind of got out of that 150, 160 range that they were stuck at. You have the Eddie Q stuff with Apple. Apple messed up WWDCs, making Google look amazing right now, quite frankly. Got Perplexity that's gaining some more momentum. Oh, there was a chart that the Perplexity founder shared over the weekend, which, again, it's the same narrative around what's going on in search, but it continues to show search declining as a concept. Doesn't mean Google has to lose, but it's one thing that we have to care about. So this is from Bloomberg. This is search's rapid decline. Growth rates for U.S. search traffic have been slowing across various sectors for the past year, but the decline accelerated in May across key sectors of the internet economy, including travel, news and media, e-commerce, food and drink, finance, lifestyle, and fashion. By the way, Perplexity has launched an amazing finance website. I think it's called like finance.perplexity.ai, and it's incredible. And these are opportunities that I think Perplexity is looking at and saying, like, hey, what are people searching for, and how can we make the entire ecosystem of search way better than what Google is showing? Because Google Finance is, quite frankly, it's nothing, right? The Google Finance is horrible. And there's no AI tools, there's no news updates, there's nothing really integrated that makes you feel like you're getting a real search experience. I mean, Perplexity built a tool where you can scan every 10K via their chatbot and ask it very in-depth questions about the files as well. Again, that's not bearish Google. That's just saying, hey, like, Google knows search. That's why they fired some people in the search and ads department last week. I mean, they know what's happening. Search is declining. It is just inevitable. The question is, how does Google pivot from it? And I think that's, if you're buying Google, it's a bet that they will be able to pivot. Also, ChatGPT lies about stock prices all the time. Yeah, I've been using Perplexity for the past couple of days in terms of their like AI stock features, and I've been getting really accurate numbers, like some really good. It's not always perfect, but it's not horrible. And so I do think that there's a market opportunity for finance and AI to be a big market. HIMS, are we still at 60? We're chilling out. 59.64. 59.64 down from about 60. June 19th, the market is closed. That's correct. The market is closed for Juneteenth. So that means, yes, that means this what, Thursday? This Thursday, the market will be closed. For those that are international, Juneteenth is June 19th. It basically commemorates the emancipation of enslaved people in the United States. So basically on this date, 1865, aftermath of the Civil War, you had people that were free in this country to not be slaves anymore. And as a result, basically it's a holiday celebrating the end of slavery. I don't think the stock market was always closed for Juneteenth. I think over the past couple of years, they started closing the markets for that. So that means Thursday, we're going to be closed. That means Wednesday, we get an FOMC decision. Thursday, we're closed. And then Friday, we're back. So we have 4 trading days. 4 trading days this week. Big Bear AI, is that one going up? So what am I going to do on Thursday, bro? I'll be looking for purpose again on Thursday. Big Bear AI, that's up 8.3%. Tassie 330, and then Palantir chilling out now at 142. It's crazy to say it's chilling out at 142, but it was at 144. Now it's at about 142.50 currently right now. UNH getting a little bit of love back. UNH still down about 1%. A little bit of a green candle from 307 to 308. Okay, let's see what else we got going on. Let's see. Okay, yeah, here's the Wall Street Journal headline right here on Iran, Israel. Let's get a little bit of coverage on that.
But also with Claudia Sheinbaum tomorrow, the president of Mexico. So maybe they agree to put things off till 2026. Maybe they agree to some sort of a truce until then. That's what we have to see. But at the moment, it looks like all of them do want to reach something before that 2026 deadline.
Meantime, Megan, we got stocks at session highs. Oil briefly got below 70. The VIX is lower. Gold is lower. We got this journal piece crossing a few moments ago. A battered Iran signals it wants to de-escalate hostilities with Israel and negotiate. They say Arab officials, Tehran told Arab officials they'd be open to going back to the table as long as the U.S. doesn't join the talks. Anything we can add to it?
That's going to be the biggest topic of conversation this week. And I think that was obviously something unexpected of how much that would be center stage for this talk. The latest that we have from the president was last night when he said, and he's continued to say this throughout the weekend, it's time for a deal. He hopes that there is a deal, but sometimes they have to fight it out. It's interesting that Tehran said in that piece, according to the Journal, that they would be open to negotiations as long as the U.S. doesn't actively join in the attacks, because that's been the biggest question. As the U.S. in its rhetoric has been standing by Israel, the question has been just how far it might be willing to go to facilitate Israel as it continues these attacks. So now Iran kind of laying down that red line. It seems like when I saw that story cross just before coming on with you guys, to me, based on everything we've heard from the U.S. side, it seems like they would be open to that because they have overall mostly been pushing for a negotiated solution, wanting to get everybody back to the table. And the president for months now has said that was his preferred path. Even after these attacks began, he kept saying that. So I would imagine that's something the U.S. is open to. We haven't seen them respond. We haven't heard them even confirm that reporting just yet. But we might hear that from the president when we see him on camera later today.
But would the Israelis be on board with that as well? They are now able to fly freely over Iran.
Trump's meeting with Carney at 11 a.m. Trump's meeting with Carney at 11 a.m. Probably going to happen at 11:30, but looks like he's having a meeting with the Canadian PM who is visiting the White House today.
And Iran hasn't exactly proved a good faith negotiating partner in the past over this issue. Thank you, Megan. We'll look for headlines for you and that bilateral in the next hour.
Okay, so there you go. I'll try to stream that Trump Carney meeting at 11 a.m. I'm sure they have a lot to talk about, given he is the new PM of Canada. Stock still getting some momentum right here. IONQ getting some love. Nebius up 6%. I got this in my ETF as well. So we got that one. Robin at 75, Tessie 330, IUNQ going green. ASTS against Space Mob having a very nice day. 11%. Is that all-time highs? I think it's all-time high on ASTS, right? Yeah, all-time highs on ASTS. Wow, incredible. Rocket Lab 26.19, GameStop 23.10. GameStop actually up 4%. And then Palantir 142.50 on the day. Oh yeah, he's in. Oh, sorry, you guys are right. It's not the. I forgot the dude's in freaking Canada right now. Yeah, you're right, in Alberta. You know, Alberta always reminds me of grandmother. I think it's because I associate with abuelita in Spanish. I always think of Alberta as like, whenever I think about, doesn't Alberta sound like a grandma name? Whenever I think of the word Alberta, I'm like, oh, grandma. I don't know why I make that association, but so Trump apparently is having this meeting with the Canadian Prime Minister in Alberta. Okay, so where are they going to do? It looks like it's going to be a bilateral press conference. That means it actually might start on time if it's not going to be in the White House. Yeah, 11 a.m. at the G7 summit. Okay, so 11 a.m. Oscar. Okay, so Steve wrote an article about Oscar over the weekend. I'm going to link it right here. I haven't read the article yet, but I was with him on the phone yesterday, and he's pretty damn bullish on this company. I don't think he's bought in yet. However, the most important thing to understand here is if Trump guts anything from the ACA in any meaningful way, that can hurt this company badly. Now, the company's financials are incredible. The growth looks amazing. However, he said Oscar Health could be the next growth monster with tremendous upside. However, it is also contingent on what Trump does with the Affordable Care Act. Now, granted, every time Trump has tried to repeal the Affordable Care Act or whatever, like, you know, it just never went through. I think the focus is on tariffs, not really healthcare right now. So might not be that big of a risk. I'm going to try to do a deep dive on this company, hopefully either this Thursday or next Thursday with some experts in the field. But yeah, it is one that's picking up some momentum in terms of people looking at it. Amit, do you think the market will continue to run for the rest of the week? I think that I think that if we chill out and consolidate in this range across the entire board, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think the idea, wow, S&P's up 1%. I didn't even notice that. Look at that, 1.15. I think the idea of going down to 5,700, 5,600 on the S&P is not easy to stomach, simply because if Iran-Israel couldn't do it, I mean, if the labor market continues to be how it is, if earnings growth continues to be good, if Moody's, the 20-year bond auction, et cetera, no one cares about this stuff anymore, then like people are just going to keep allocating money to equities. If hedge funds still need exposure, by the way, hedge funds are now levered up the most they've been since 2022. And the reason for that is because they're trying to gain more alpha and exposure because they were so underweight equities. Then I don't think that we have to go down 5%. Now, that doesn't mean we have to keep running for the rest of the week, especially if Jay Powell starts acting hawkish. But I think the short to medium term prediction is we don't go down and we don't have to go up. And so I say I think we're flat. I think we're flat probably until the end of June, maybe July, we get a spike up like we do historically. And then August, September, we chill out a bit. And then we have the Santa Claus rally. That seems like a logical way for this to play out. And historically, that's what after an election year, things tend to play out that way. But I would not be surprised if we go higher, because like, where is the bear case? Again, where is the crazy, crazy bear case? I'm not saying there's not any bear case. I'm just saying, where is the cataclysmic, oh my goodness, sell your stocks, get out of the market, buy puts? Where is that type of bear case? I don't see it as easily right now. AMD, wow, 7.5% on the day. Unbelievable, dude. Congrats to AMD. Congrats to myself for picking AMD in this ETF. You know, like at the end of the day, it's so funny now. Even if I don't own it, I don't own Apple, I don't own Nebius, I'm still like, I'm part of it, dude. Like, because I need to beat these guys. And because everyone unilaterally shit on my portfolio, it's only right that I win this challenge. It's only right. So there you go. That's what we got with AMD. But no, in all seriousness, congrats to everybody. I mean, this I know AMD has been through the gutter, and a lot of you guys have been through just like an annoying past couple months, seeing this thing drop all the way to 75. But for those that even started DCAing around this time back in December of last year, if you DCA'd, you know, nicely over the past couple months, you probably have a sub $100 average, which is very nice to see on AMD. 125.26 up about 7.8% of the day. Robin at 75.23. Nvidia 144.36. Looks like we got a new headline from Reuters. Iran asked Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and Oman to ask Trump to press Israel to agree to an immediate ceasefire. All right, if that's true, this is over. If that's true, this is over. If this is true from Reuters, that Iran asked Qatar, the Saudis, and Oman to pressure Trump to get Israel to just agree to a ceasefire, that means they're not fighting back. They don't want to fight back. And it's over. They're going to sign the deal, and it's going to be done. Now, if Israel continues to be more aggressive and tries to legit go for a regime change, I think Trump would be kind of pissed off. I think Trump wants this shit to be over, wants it to move on and keep going from there. So the ball might be in Israel's court. Ball might be in Israel's court right now. And I think we'll get some more details over the coming probably hours to see how this plays out. Yeah, dude, if it feels Iran's crying uncle, that's basically what they're doing. They're crying uncle. They're tagging out. Again, the reason for this, it's not even political to say this. They in game theory, it's a question of who are your allies. They have no allies. If Russia and China are not going to stick up and say, hey, we are going to protect them during this war that they're in, or what soon could be an aggressive war, then who's going to protect them? It's not going to be the Saudis. It's not going to be Afghanistan. It's not going to be Jordan. It's not going to be Turkey. Like, a lot of these countries don't have the advanced weaponry to even support them. Again, remember, a lot of these Middle Eastern countries are victims of terrorism internally. And they're not in the Saudi prince. He's absolutely not a fan of Hezbollah and Iran based on how they've been treating the region and destabilizing the region. He was ready to sign the Abraham Accords and make peace with Israel before COVID. And then, a lot of stuff happened and it got delayed. And then October 7th, and then it definitely wasn't going to happen. But the point is, Iran doesn't really have a lot of friends. And when you chant death to America, you're not going to have that. When your main motto is, we want to annihilate the Jewish state and the Jewish people and death to America. Yeah, you're not going to have that many friends. You're not going to have that many friends. So we're going to have to see. And on top of that, their leadership is afraid of its own people revolting 1,000%. And the thing dictators care about the most is keeping their power more than anything. So for all intended purposes, it feels like if these reports are accurate, this could be coming to a conclusion relatively soon. NVIDIA right here, 144.38, and then Tessie, 329.84 right now. Why is AMD up 9 points? I think AMD is reacting to the conference they had last week. I don't think there's any reason today why AMD is up. I think it's a delayed reaction. I mean, there was a little bit of a pump on Thursday, but it kind of sold off. So I feel like it's rebounding. And then again, all the upgrades that they got last week and then this morning has been helping them as well. Where is the pharmaceuticals? Eli Lilly, Chris has this in his ETF. That's up 0.34. Novo Nordisk, that one's down about 2.3%. Hims back to 60. Hims back to 60, up 8.6% on the day. A lot of the growth names, again, if markets are pricing that this thing is not going to happen anymore with Israel and Iran, then you're going to start to see some of that momentum. Palantir just at 143, and then Robin at 75.26. Again, we got a Robin demo tomorrow. That's going to be important as well. Celsius, they got an upgrade this morning. Let me see if I can get the exact upgrade, but that's up 7% as well. That one up 70% for the year. Yeah, TD Cowen raised them to 55. They see the brand reaccelerating with improved scanner data, innovation pipeline, and shelf space gains as the energy category rebounds. When we downgraded Celsius to hold in January, we were concerned the brand had lost momentum and gone X growth. Since then, Celsius scanner trends have improved from flat to high sales decline seen in February. We expect to continue improvement through the summer as comps ease from 35% in May to 19% in June and July. That's a fair point. They're going to have easier comps. Additionally, management recently said the core Celsius brand gained 15 to 20% more shelf space during the spring resets. The energy category rebound more broadly has also provided a positive backdrop. Celsius 44. There you go. Green on the day. Not bad. Not bad at all. Matthew, thank you for the $20 super chat. Yo, brother, love your work in the community. Question, I've heard you talk about pre-IPO. What platform do you use? Any thoughts? Again, so the platform that I have not used, but I've seen as like the best platform is Hive. This is the platform, HIIVE. If you're an accredited investor and you want to get into Anduril, OpenAI, Figure, etc., this is the platform to use. So you sign up, you prove you're accredited, you submit your driver's license or whatever form of ID, and then you can buy stocks on the platform. Now, remember, when you do this through these secondary marketplaces, you're buying at aggressive multiples. So OpenAI, I think is worth 300 billion on the private markets. You might have to pay 350 billion on a platform like this, or 315 billion, whatever it is. But again, if you really want exposure and you don't want to wait till IPO, that's why you buy at these prices. But you're basically buying from employees or from other shareholders that are liquidating some of their stakes. But yeah, in today's day and age, you don't have to know a guy to get into these companies. You just have to pay a little bit of a premium, and there's plenty of websites that can get you access to it. Databricks, Anthropic, all these companies, XAI, I mean, all of them are on that platform. So that could be a way to get exposure. Palantir right here, 142.88. Tesla 330, again up 1.4%, and then Nvidia 144.40. There was some Tesla news last Friday with the new Model S and Model X that they introduced. Outside of that, I don't think there was anything too crazy. There was this headline: Tesla Model 3 and Model Y are the least stolen vehicles in America. So that headline did come out a couple days ago. And the reason for that, I believe, is because of, it's not easy to get into a Tesla. But yeah, besides that, no other headlines going on right now. I mean, the big thing we're waiting on is Robotaxi, right? Elon said June 28th. It used to be June 12th, so it got delayed. Let's see if it happens by the end of June. And if it does, that could be something that just the pure momentum and the hype of that could help Tesla. But until earnings, I don't think we have any sort of big news updates that we're waiting for. Palantir right here, 142, and then Hoodie, 75.20. Do you have Figure AI? Yes, I have Figure AI. Figure on Hive was trading at 194 a share on Friday, based on the last look I had. So I think that's basically a $40 billion valuation. So, if you want to buy it at the current valuation, they just raised that 39 billion, 40 billion, whatever it is, it's about $200 a share. So Figure's on the platform. I mean, a lot of these companies are on the platform to get access to. Robotaxi launch covers the Austin Metro. Yeah, there have been multiple more videos outside of that first one we saw last week of more Robotaxis that people have been seeing. Yeah, I mean, so Elon said June 22nd, but he also said tentatively it's also June 28th if it doesn't go correctly. So yes, June 22nd is the actual date, but he did say that it could extend to June 28th. So yeah, that could be. I mean, I honestly think that could be something that pumps Tesla back to 400. I really do. Yeah, I mean, the Robotaxi hype in and of itself with S&P hitting all-time highs, that I could easily see that pump back to 400. Now, granted, earnings are going to suck, so that might subdue the run if it does have any run. But by end of year, if Robotaxi is making progress and markets are at 6,500, Tesla doesn't have to go to 400, but it definitely doesn't have to go back below 200. And so I don't think the stock has to hit either extreme, but could obviously gain a lot of momentum. AMD right here starting to break out a little bit more. AMD 125.30. Let me check resistance at 126. 125.84 is where AMD is kind of stuck at right here. Or that's where it got to as a high of day. 125.50. 126 on AMD is 51,000 shares. HIM 61. Wow. Just got the notification on Robinhood. Up 10% on the day. Not bad. Got 50 shares this morning at 56. So those are doing all right. I have 550 shares now of HIMS. 550 shares. Average cost is $54.51. Yeah, Doug's right. It's not like a regular market. It's more like an auction, but with bidders and sellers. Exactly. So your bid-ask spread is not going to be as efficient as if Jane Street or Citadel was setting it up. But still, it is a way to get exposure. HIMS right here, 10.7%. Could you explain resistance a bit? So I just look at the order book flow, the book volumes, and all resistance means is that, hey, there's these many shares waiting at a certain level that want to be sold. So for example, at 62 on HIMS, we hit 61.45. 62, there are, believe it or not, 897 shares, not a lot of shares, which means there's a limit order for 900 shares to be sold at 62. On Nvidia, there's 800,000 shares at 145. So that means someone has to buy those shares at 145 in order for the price to move higher, right? There needs to be a bidder at the end of the day for someone who's willing to sell those shares at these levels. And that's all it means when I'm looking at resistance. I don't mean technical resistance because that's looking at like TA. I just mean like, how many shares are stuck at a certain level that needs to be bought at to move on. Grab right here, 475. That one's up 4% on the day as well. NVIDIA 144.60 and then Palantir 143. This is why you have to be exposed to the market. I agree. That's why you have to be exposed. Why is HIMS up today? They are teasing a new product on June 18th based on their Twitter account. That, along with the broader market, could be the reason why it's up. But yeah, that's why I believe it's getting some. Wow, Meta, dude. This is not all-time highs, but Meta 706, baby. There you go. Again, HIMS right here, 6109. Meta 706. Meta's all-time high, I believe, is 740. 737. 737. 706 on Meta. Bitcoin back to 107. What a Monday, folks. What a freaking Monday. Markets are basically saying geopolitics is going to be all right. You got an FOMC meeting that no one's really scared about because we already know what J-Powell is going to do. You got Palantir at all-time highs. Meta trying to get to all-time highs. Robinhood back above 75. NVIDIA just 50 cents away from 145. All the semis are green. SMCI is up 4%. Sailor just bought another 10,000 Bitcoin. I mean, you've got a lot of momentum across the board. Oil's down. Oil's down 2%. Not bad. Freaking nuclear energy is up like 30% on the day. Circle continuing its momentum. Oklo up about 9%. Circle's up 22%. New all-time high for Circle at 163. Or actually, it was 164.98. It got to was the all-time high. And then Arrow, another IPO, up 40% on the day. I mean, it's one of those environments where it makes you feel, even if you're not going to buy Circle or Arrow, that you need some exposure. And the problem is, which is a good thing for retail, the big guys got rid of all their exposure. And because they got rid of all of it, it is helping. Here's a chart from Goldman Sachs that came out this morning. Retail investors have been selling. This is the 20-day rolling net inflows since 2024. This is the sum of the net notional retail buying and selling for every single constituent in the S&P 500. We already looked at a chart that was similar to this from Morgan Stanley, so this shouldn't be a surprise. But if retail is a net seller, someone has to be a net buyer if the stock is going up, or if stocks in general are going up, right? Someone has to. If retail is a net seller, unless institutions are a net seller, we would see lower equity prices. That's not what we're seeing. We're seeing 2%, 3% away from the S&P 500 all-time highs. The dollar, by the way, down again, 97.73 on the day, which is not the worst for some of these international stocks. One could imagine institutions are buying retail shares. And that just means that there's a much bigger bidder that's ready to allocate to some of these assets. And it also means retail is being smart. Retail's like, you know what? I'll wait for the July, August dump, which tends to happen every year, and then I'll buy more stocks. But I'm going to take some profits at all-time highs, which is, a smart thing to do. It's portfolio management at the end of the day. Institutions are following retail. This is hilarious considering retail made so much on the dip. It's absolutely hilarious, bro. Like when has been the last time institutions followed retail this aggressively? I can't think of it. I mean, when's the last time that retail bought the dip and the institutions went net short and then realized they messed up and had to come back? I mean, in 2024, everyone was buying. 2022, everyone was losing money. 2020, everyone was buying because interest rates were zero. So it kind of was a everything rally. It doesn't happen often, right? It doesn't really happen like that. So it's really nice to see that playing out as well. Amit, do you still have HIMS? Yes, I have 550 shares. I have HIMS. Stephen Allen, thank you for becoming a channel member. Appreciate you, Stephen Allen, for being here. And thank you for becoming a channel member. OMG, he read my comment. Dude, why? Like, some of you guys freak out when I read your comments. And I wish I could just read everyone's comment. Obviously, there's a lot of comments, but I try to see people in the chat that I haven't ever read their comment from. Because obviously I actually like engaging with the chat and reading the chat, and this would not be fun without the chat. And that's why sometimes when I miss a super chat, it's like I apologize for it, but if we're in the middle of something and there's a super chat, it's like I can't just stop what we're talking about just for the super chat, you know? As much as I really appreciate the super chats, like sometimes it's like, look, if Palantir is hitting all-time highs and there's a super chat, like you can't just stop that momentum of the stream to address a comment on a very specific topic, you know? But I try to get to them throughout the end of the stream. It's just sometimes it's a little tough in the middle of something. Chris said send him a link. All right, let's send him a link. Let's send Mr. Kris Patel a link. 75.50 on hoodie. I'm a bit too famous to pay attention to the chat now. No, that is incorrect. Dude, I have 3. You guys know I have my phone with the chat open. I have my iPad with the chat open, and then I have StreamYard with the chat open. I think that's what actually helps the streams, like continue to remain exciting, is because I'm constantly looking at the chat to see your comments. That's why I'm able to like see when someone's saying, "Oh, ASTS is flying." If I'm looking at another stock, I can see the comments saying ASTS, ASTS, so that I know to go to ASTS and see if ASTS is flying, which it is right now, up 9.7%. So the chat is incredibly pivotal for me to be able to get through the stream every day. It's just, you know, it's not like it was 2 years ago where literally every comment is able to be read, but deeply, deeply appreciate everyone that's in the chat. And of course, while we're talking about super chats, looks who pops up, Mr. Triple V. Okay, actually, this reminds me of something. Triple V, thank you for the $100 super chat. I was talking with Derek over the weekend. You guys know that Triple V and Derek are very good friends. It looks like, based on what Derek said, that we are doing the Miami meetup in his location. So Triple V, Derek was actually going to set up a group chat with us over the weekend. He might not have done it yet, but he was going to set up a group chat with us to talk logistics, and then we were going to we were going to call the building owners on Monday to kind of further, which is today, to further discuss this stuff. So Miami meetup, it's looking like August 23rd. That's the tentative date. August 23rd. That's the tentative date. Talked to Derek over the weekend. I asked him, is he sure he wants to host it? Because he's really busy. He's running a big startup right now. And so I don't want to burden him with this, but he really wants to do it. I still don't know if he's going to be able to pull through, but based on what he told me over the weekend, he really, really wants to host it at his place. And Triple V might be there to make an appearance as well. So I will try to get you guys more details in the next week, hopefully by early July. But August 23rd, it looks like the Miami meetup is happening. And it might be happening at Derek's spot. And if not, we'll find another good spot. But you know, we want to get a DJ and food, and we want to get like what's the thing with the fire that's popping up? And so he wanted to like really do it really nicely. So we're gonna see what we can do, and hopefully it can be good. But thank you, Triple V, for the $100 super chat. And hopefully we get to see you in Miami going into the end of the year. My uncle in the chat says, hire me to manage the chats. Yeah, I've been thinking, bro. I have like seriously been thinking of actually legitimately hiring an executive assistant. And I know it's the douchiest thing to say in the world, and I hate that I'm saying this, right? But it is getting to the point where there are so many emails and messages coming in, and just having someone to screen it for me would really help. Because like there's like 100 DMs I have to respond to on Twitter, and every day I'm like, all right, I'm going to respond to it. And then every day goes by and I don't respond because there's just so many coming in. So I really do think by the end of the year, we might have to just hire someone to help this out. Or maybe AI can do this. Maybe there's an AI workflow that can kind of make this easier. Maybe just something in the future. Kris Patel, good morning. How are you?
Good, man. Glad to see that this Iran-Israel thing is starting to kind of come down a little bit. That's helping lower oil prices because like the tensions are starting to get relieved, and it's helping drive the markets higher. So it's always a pleasure to see that.
What is your take on what's going on with Iran-Israel now?
Well, Iran does not have the capability to maintain a constant barrage against Israel, and Israel doesn't have the ability to do that with Iran as well. I mean, unless it's, of course, constantly resupplied by the U.S. Israel would like a more permanent solution, but I think at some point they'll be willing to accept like a marginalized Iran. So I think that's what we're at right now, you know.
So do you think the markets basically said, all right, Iran has no chance to fight this, and oil prices will stabilize, and essentially like Israel won? Do you think that's what they're pricing in?
Pretty much. I mean, Israel got most of its objectives that it wanted, which is get the nuclear sites, as many of them, out of commission as possible. They also this time around targeted some infrastructure in Iran with regards to their general population's ability to just basically operate. So they took out some of their natural gas refineries and oil refineries. So these are like things that they would use internally for like electricity and stuff like that. So around that time, the quality of life diminishing in Iran couldn't in effect cause some level of regime change. And I think the regime is trying to protect its own position. So that's where, Iran is right now with regards to this.
Yeah, I think, dude, I think it, I think the market's realizing Iran does like they're calling for uncle, right? They're tapping out. Like if these reports are right, they don't have the ability to fight back, and if that's the case, then the blame switches to Israel to see if they're going to escalate this even further. But if they don't, then this is a conflict that relatively is over after basically 72 hours. It seems like.
I mean, the Israelis are pretty pragmatic in that you don't want to go so far as to end up being like the basically categorized as the aggressor. Right now there's still enough public support to say, you know what, Iran is an aggressor state, even though technically the Israelis are the ones that launched a preemptive strike. So it's a very multifaceted situation right now. I personally always on the side of diplomacy. What Israel did, in my opinion, was it was a tactical military maneuver to get what they wanted long term. So I'm not going to argue for it. I'm not going to argue against it. I personally don't think it was the right move, to be honest with you, only because like you're supposed to negotiate things out diplomatically, and but whatever. I mean, the Iranians are not exactly known to be diplomatic in when it comes to their proxies either. So
Right.
I don't know. I just don't like the fact that the US, we have to keep getting dragged into all of this all the time.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it looks like no one gets dragged into this as this comes to an end. ASTS, is this still up from Friday's news, or is there anything else going on?
I don't know. I just think it's just people realizing their stock has some long-term value behind it, and we're in a risk-on market right now. People are willing to buy things at unusually high valuations, right? So what you're seeing is a lot more people kind of jumping in the market and saying, "Oh, I think I missed out on this." So they're getting in, and the thing is, remember, your entry price only like matters really if your time horizon is super long, right? So if you have like a 10-year time horizon, whether you bought it at 20 or 30 is not that big of a difference,
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so going on this theme of risk on, Rivian, by the way, up 5% of the day, so Rivian getting some love. JPal's not going to cut this week, but do you think the market cares?
I'm sorry, say that again.
So we know JPal's not going to cut this week, but do you think he could be hawkish enough to get the market to care?
I think he might actually be a little bit dovish in that he'll say, like, look, there's data that's coming out right now that's showing employment starting to moderate, right? And that could be something. And so he might emphasize the second part of that dual mandate.
Right.
So remember, it's not always just inflation, it's also employment. So employment, if that's continuing to weaken, then he's got to react to that also. So one of the things you're seeing is a continuing jobless claims also starting to kind of rise. So that's something to be concerned about.
All right. AMD right here, up 9% as well. Kris, thank you. Chris's Twitter right here.
Just one thing real quick. The reason why retail, it seems that they have been on a winning streak versus institutions that have been on a losing streak is, I think one of the reasons why is companies like Robinhood. The access to markets has become so easy for retail. And then when you combine retail's ability to jump in and out of positions, it gives them that nimble flexibility to basically, when things are oversold, buy. When things are overbought, sell. Right? It's like it gives like you and the other thing is like from a decision making standpoint, you can make a decision much easier and quicker. Whenever you see these hedge funds and all these large funds, you're talking about they have to unload 1 million shares, 2 million shares at a time. So when you have larger and larger portfolio sizes, that's one of the big detriments that you run into, which is you've got performance quotas that you have to meet on quarterly and annualized basis to get paid. So if you don't meet those benchmarks, you won't get paid. So that's one thing. So it makes you kind of like try to figure out how to make money rather than how to be an investor versus retail. Retail can hold Palantir at 500 PE. Most hedge funds, I doubt that they have the ability to do that unless they have like a hedge fund manager that has a lot of permanent capital that and a ton of faith from investors. If you went to regular investors and said, "Hey, I'm thinking about buying a company at a 500 PE that's generating 3 billion in revenue and its market cap is 300 billion," I'm not so sure too many guys at the top would be like, "Yeah, I think that's a good idea."
Okay, so I got a little bit of a gotcha question by
Yeah.
Doug, and I want to see how you respond to this. Ask Kris how he can recommend buying ASTS when it has 10 times the price of sales that Palantir does, and he calls that overinflated from a valuation perspective.
Because ASTS is pre-rev, man. It's simple.
Isn't that a worse reason to buy it?
No,
If there's literally no revenue.
No, because you got to remember this thing is going to be generating revenue in the future where you're actually going to see that come in. Palantir right now is growing at a certain pace and it's already valuing at such a high multiple. So you're looking at a $300 billion company versus a $13 billion company. Not even 13. I mean, it's 13 now, but when we were talking about it, it was like $7-8 billion with $1 billion in cash and deals with all these.
Yeah, but Kris, that $300 billion company is generating $4 billion in revenue. The $13 billion
Right,
or $14 billion company is generating nothing. Like, so from a comparative perspective, both are aggressive multiples. I'm not saying one is not, but they're both the same in terms of you're buying future growth, essentially. That's it.
Right, but at one, you can see that predictable nature, like it's going to be at a certain level. So if you're buying a company at a $7 billion, $8 billion valuation, which the expected EBITDA is going to be like 3 billion, 4 billion, which is reasonable, right? In 2030, you're looking at literally you're basing your investing based on that 5 years.
Wait, but hold on. That means you're saying it's topping out at 42 because the only reason it only stays at that market cap if it stays at this price.
Hold on. So that's just one layer of it, right? Palantir, on the other hand, you can project out revenue growth for the next 5 years, right? Based on what the current growth trajectory is, and you still wouldn't get to a healthy multiple. With ASTS, like right now, you go to Deutsche Bank, right? Deutsche Scotiabank, they did an analysis of all the revenue that these guys would be generating in the next 5 years, and it's way outpaces what the valuation is going to be. So it's like it gives it like a price target almost like $120, $130 by 2030. Now, does it at $40-50 make sense from a total return standpoint? If you want like an easy double, triple, yeah, it makes more sense if that's what you're looking for. Palantir is a completely different animal when it comes to that. So if you go to 2030 and look at the revenue projections for Palantir, there could be like, let's say 12 billion, right? 12 billion in revenue. Right now it does 3. So you're talking about a 4x increase in revenue. 3x revenue increase by 2030. All right. You apply a multiple to that, you're still nowhere near what a healthy SaaS business is going to be like.
I mean, yeah, but obviously, I mean, when you say healthy, I think that's a little bit more subjective, right? Because we've seen other SaaS businesses like a CrowdStrike get these aggressive multiples. I get your point. I see what you're saying. It's just if ASTS only stays at this price and they get to that growth, then the market cap compared to that growth in the future makes sense. But if this thing gets to like $80-90,
there's not a lot of left upside. Like it's the same thing with VG too. Like if VG starts to go above $25, $30 in the next like 2 weeks, that's not, you're basically paying a ton of money for future growth.
Okay,
right?
so that's what I wanted to hear. So you're saying what is the upside left? You think 50 is kind of max upside?
I mean, in the short to medium term, 50, 60 seems more fair value. But then again, with the current market sentiment where it is, you never know. I mean, for me, that's one of the reasons why I have spreads on these things rather than just plain long call options.
Right.
All
right. Cool stuff. In terms of what you said about Robinhood, I agree, dude. I think retail has the ability to manage their portfolio like an active portfolio manager, and that's helping them. It's helping them take profits, helping them buy the dip. So you're right on that.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, the access is just going to keep getting like growing and growing. I wonder because of all of this if we see more volatility in the markets than ever before, because retail does have the tendency to move markets now, right? So if you get enough people on the retail side, even though they're all small fish, if all these small fishes combine, that's like a pretty big guppy, you know?
Yeah.
So I think retail has a way of pushing things way beyond what normal valuations are. And I think if we do get like some sort of a huge market correction, I'm talking about more like recession, like 2008 kind of scenario. Well, probably not 2008. That might be a little too hyperbolic. But like, let's say eventually a bubble pops and that causes a lot of retail to lose money. That could slow things down significantly. I mean, I always feel like market cycles like this tend to happen. And this like eerily reminds me of the year 2000 when my dad lost a shit ton of money, where instead of like looking at fundamentals, he was just chasing names because he'd be like, oh, look, this stock is going up. Let me buy it. Right. There's no fundamentals behind it other than, oh, this company is going up. So that means that I'm buying it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think that sentiment is there to an extent on some names, but like a Hims is, one could argue, cheap at $60. It's not as cheap as it was before, but it's not like egregiously
I
expensive.
mean, at least Hims is profitable. Hims is making money. You know, a lot of these companies are making money. At least that's good. I mean, your 2000 was a completely weird joke of a place to be, because that was like you had companies that weren't even generating real money, and they were.
But do you think this is 2000 in some companies or across the market, or how are you?
I mean, that's happened. I mean, dude, in 2022 we had the SPAC stuff. Remember how many SPAC companies were out there selling themselves? Like you had this one company whose entire business model was, we are going to take blocks and move them from one place to another and store energy. Remember that? We're going to stack blocks.
Yeah, but I'm talking about now, 2025. Do you think it's 2000-esque?
There could be pockets of it. I don't necessarily see it wholesale like we did in 2022, where like you've got completely new categories. I mean, there are certain companies that I feel like the story and the narrative might be a little bit too aggressive. Like as an example, like Oklo. Like I think a lot of people are bidding up Oklo, and Oklo doesn't have a finished product yet. It doesn't have a reactor or anything really yet, but it's got approvals for things, right? ASTS, you could say, is in a very similar boat, where it's like, oh, they've got technology, but they don't have a proven business yet. So a lot of people are just basically investing based on that belief that there could be a huge business in the future.
Yeah.
You know, AI to a certain degree, there's a lot of AI companies right now who are getting aggressive valuations, but they may not be generating that tangible value just yet. I mean, and usually things like this happen, and then you have these long periods of consolidation, which is always good, because then like the cream rises to the top, right? And those are the ones you kind of want to bet on. So it's kind of a similar thing with all the SPAC debacle. Like all the non like business SPACs, they're all dying, but the ones that are actually real businesses that are, you know, doing well, they're thriving. Like look at SoFi, right?
Yep.
SoFi was a SPAC, Grab was a SPAC, ASTS was a SPAC, right? Now of the 95% of SPACs that died, the ones that were real businesses, they're going to survive and they're going to do well. So, you know, this is where we are with this. Like Rubicon died. Like what are some of the other ones? Like
Open Door. Yeah.
Open Door's still alive somehow. I don't even know how they're alive, but they're out there. But looking back now, it just makes you wonder, like Enovix battery company. I mean, I don't think this was a SPAC. This was a real IPO. But
yeah, these guys are actually legit. They just, you know, they're going to take time to play
the
out.
one thing I'll tell, just the one thing I realize as an investor is, if you want to invest in a company that's like pre-revenue and all that, go for it. Don't hold back, but just don't let it turn into like a monster part of your portfolio that could screw you the rest of your portfolio as well, right? I mean, at least I hope that makes sense, where it's like you don't overextend yourself and saying your entire portfolio is just full of companies that are super speculative. You kind of
But
want to have a speculative part of the portfolio with the rest of them being more like focused ones. Like ASTS is only 5% of my portfolio. I'm not like gonna be like, oh my God, I believe in this company so hardcore, I'm gonna dump 50% of my portfolio in ASTS, you know?
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
All right, Chris. Thank you. I think Trump's speaking to Mark Carney soon, so we'll be taking a look at that in a bit.
Enjoy. Take care.
Later.
Bye.
All right, so Trump is not live yet, but when he gets there, we'll talk. Hoodie, though, 76, baby. What a day. Robinhood and Palantir, just incredible momentum. Hood, 76. Resistance at 77, which is where we were at before the S&P inclusion, 11,000 shares. The good thing about Hood getting to these levels is basically the market saying we didn't buy it just for S&P speculation. We bought it because we believe in it, and maybe, you know, some of the S&P is a cherry on top. But the fact that it's holding this level up 5% now, very, very exciting for Robinhood. And then you got Palantir right here, still at 142, down from 144. A high of the day was 144.86. Low was 139.81 for a couple seconds in the market open. Now at 142, and then Nvidia right here. Nvidia. Look, we're 10 cents away from 145. Let's see if we can make it happen. But just about 10 cents away currently right now. And 145 resistance, still 800,000 shares. 800,000 shares at 145. Is the December 2027 Robinhood 100-105 spread a good idea here, Mitt? So look, I had something similar to that. I got out of it and I just bought the stock because I don't think buying options when these stocks are at all-time highs is the smartest move. I just rather buy the stock, dude. I'd rather buy the stock. So, like, is it a good idea? Yeah, if Robinhood is 100 by December 2027, but what if 2026 is a bad year? You know, well, what if we have a bit of a correction and Robinhood ends the year at 90 instead of 100? You know, so although I think, yes, Robinhood will be triple digits, and it has a shot to be by the end of this year as well, I personally am not betting with my capital. I'd rather just buy the stock. I just think options are a little risky right now, buying it at all-time highs. Now, if you're buying a stock that has not moved, like a SoFi option, I don't think is crazy because SoFi's barely moved. Grab has barely moved. But on some of these other names, although you might get an aggressive move, the question is just, you know, do you believe that move will be so aggressive that it gets you to the strike prices you're looking for? 145, we hit it. 145, we hit it, folks. We hit it for a second. So we broke through that wall at 145. Nvidia 145. Yeah, we literally touched it for a second. It's at 144.98. The resistance is gone. There is no more. I don't see anything on my screen of resistance, so we should be right back above it. But we did touch it for a second. Also, speaking of Nvidia, I wanted to show you guys this. So UBS came out with some notes on Nvidia. Here's the summary of what they said. Our data suggests the company may have effectively the ability to get $400 billion in data center revenue, or about 2 times our $233 billion data center revenue estimate for calendar year 2026. If no changes in market valuation metrics, this implies Nvidia would be at $280 in quote unquote a few years. So you got UBS basically saying, hey, now, again, I got to go deep into the research and see how they get their numbers. Their numbers right there are below. That's how they get to $400 billion. But if NVIDIA is doing $400 billion in data center revenue by the end of 2026, AMD is going to be higher, SMCI is going to be higher, Micron's going to be higher, ASML is going to be higher, NVIDIA is going to be higher, SMH is going to be, like, all the semis are going to be in one of those markets that's led by, at that point, basically a $6 trillion company. So it would be very incredible to see it. There you go, 145.32. 145.32, NVIDIA breaking out from that 145 level. She tried on Friday. She got stuck at 144.99. Then she fell all the way back down to 141. Back here at 145. Tesla at 329. Google at 175. Palantir 142. Robin at 76.40. Robin maybe going for that 71. VIX is down right now. That is correct. And then AMD following with NVIDIA. Well, AMD really leading. NVIDIA kind of following AMD. AMD up 9.7% on the day. There you go. Tanner says, oh, my draft picks keep sleeping on me, chat. Dude, Tanner, they're not just sleeping on you. They're sleeping on me, too. They think you and I are going to have the worst portfolios. they think I'm probably going to have the worst, but everyone's going for Kris, Matt, or Steve, and most of them are betting on Matt. And I don't know. We're gonna see who dude. This is gonna be fun to find out over the next year. Steve's gonna build out the model, and then he'll send me the model, and I can share it pretty much honestly, I can share it every single day if I have the model. So I'm just waiting for him to fully build it out, and then every day we can take a look at who's winning or losing. Again, it's the 1 year to date return, the 1 year the 1 year return. So basically from now until 2026, midway through that year, we will see who outperforms. Palantir 141, Hood got a little bit of a red candle right there from 76.40. Nvidia 145.50, dude. It's moving with a vengeance. All right, so 146. Trump is not live yet. Once he's live, I will switch to him. 146 on Nvidia. 390,000 shares. 390,000. You guys are saying Trump is live? I don't see him yet. Let me get a different stream, see if he pops up. Let's see if we can get him. Okay, so their live stream is up, but he's not talking yet. So as soon as he starts talking, I will switch over to Trump. Amazon as well. Look at Amazon. Look at that. 215 on Mr. Amazon, dude. I mean, this one has always been one of those names that was hurt with the Bezos selling, but I think the market has realized that they don't care about Bezos selling. Also, Bezos hasn't sold in like a couple months, so I think he may be waiting for like 230, 250, but he has filed to sell. Nebius as well. That one doing great today. That one, wow, up 8%. CoreWeave back up 5%. This thing was barely up 1% this morning. There you go, 154. The momentum is not leaving out of these names. It's not leaving out of these names. All-time high on Nvidia is 152. 152, right? 153. So, I mean, it looks like it wants to crack 146 right here. But 153 is what we need for Nvidia. AMD 127. 127. Ahmed, how much Hood do you have? Okay, so I have a decent amount. But no more options. No more options. The options are gone. It's all stock. I'll say it like this. I have more than 5,000 shares, but less than 10,000 shares. So I'll say it like that. So it's a heavy position. And I've just been adding to it more and more and more and more. So part of it is covered with calls. Part of it's loose and going free. But people kept asking me, how do you have the money to keep buying 100 shares of Hood? Dude, I sold all my Hood options. That's why I have the money. So I sold all the options, got, some good profits off that. Again, those options were bought when the thing was $8. And now I'm just converting it into stock. So that's why I said when someone say, hey, should I buy Hood options? I'm like, dude, yes, but also if 2026 ends up being not as bullish, it'll be the 4th year in a row. If it's the 4th year in a row to be not as bullish, then so what, 23, 24, 25. Yeah. So if the 4th year is a year that lags, then Hood, again, it's contingent on the market. If the market lags, Hood is not going to get to 150 anytime. It's not going to go beyond Charles Schwab's market cap. It still needs a good market ecosystem that is friendly towards the bulls. That's why I think buying the stock and selling calls against it is the better strategy here. The only options I have right now are on SoFi, which again is a small position that could be very asymmetric if Noto can get us to 20, and then Grab. And I'm either going to be right or wrong on Grab, but the more I get into the thesis, the more I believe I'm going to be right on this. So those are the only, and then I have some TLT calls that I'm thinking of selling, bro. I'm down like 2,000, but I think I might just get rid of these. I don't know if rates are coming down anytime soon, and by the time they do come down, the theta is going to kill the calls. So I don't know. TLT is, as much as I like it, it's more so a stock position if anyone's interested in it as a hedge against rates versus like an options position, because we're just not going to get the move we need to happen anytime soon. But outside of that, I have no options. I have no other options. Trump's still not live yet. No other options in this market. I did have a ton of options, and right before, if I had actually held to my Hood options going into this run, I would have, been up a lot. But I sold at 50 because I didn't like the risk reward. I was really like, it was iffy. It was very, and now I'm happy that so buying the stock has worked out really well, but I didn't have the stomach to hold on to the options after Hood recovered all the way from the bottom. And I don't know if buying them at 75 is the smart strategy, but that goes for like, I don't know if buying Palantir options makes sense or Nvidia options make sense or Tesla options. Like I really just think holding on to the stock right here is better unless you think it's severely undervalued compared to the strikes you want to get to. Where is Nvidia? Are we at oh dude, we're 2 cents away. 2 cents away. Here we go. Here we go. Again, resistance at 146. It's what, 100,000? 21,000 shares. Oh, there it goes. There it goes. 146, baby. 146. That was nothing. That was nothing. 146. That was easy money, dude. That was 21,000. That was just quick. This is now the highest it's been since the earnings. I think the earnings didn't even touch 146, right? I think it touched like 145.50 or 145.30. Last time we were at 140. Yeah, last time we were at 146. On May 29th, we hit 143.89. That was the highest we got to after earnings. So this is officially the highest we've been since February. Let me do a yearly. Yeah, since February. February, we hit that 153 around January 24th. There you go, dude. Not bad. Circle up 20%, 160. All-time highs or close to all-time highs on Circle. Grab 474, SoFi 1457, Palantir 141, and then Tessie 329. Tessie 329. What's better than 146? That is fair. That's fair. Something's better than 146, and that is 147. Resistance is 282,000 shares. 282,000 shares. Iran is preparing for a very big blow to Israel soon, a senior Iranian security official tells Fars news agency. Okay, so you have some reports coming out saying Iran's going to keep attacking, and then you have other reports from the Wall Street Journal saying Iran's ready to give up. No one knows which one is accurate. We're going to find out over the coming probably hours what's actually taking place. But there are some conflicting reports there. I would be on the side of Iran's going to be giving up soon, but we're going to have to see how this ends up playing out. Estee Ladar also up 7% of the day. So shout out to Michael Burry if he still has his shares. Estee Ladar is green. What Hood calls did you sell? So remember, I had the $15, $20 strikes from expiring 2026. So those I bought at $8. I sold those, made about 5x on those. And with that money, I've just been buying the stock. If you're talking about selling calls, I think like 85, 80 is not that crazy. I think I have 80 for June 27th currently right now on some of my position. So my mom has 95 for July, I think July 3rd. And I think my dad is 85 as well going into August. So I don't think the 80s or 90s are that crazy. Okay, Trump is still not live yet. They have the stream, but no one's talking yet. I think they're going to be starting shortly. Again, it's a bilateral meeting with the PM of Canada. Likely we'll get some updates on trade, and then we'll see what he says. Here's an update right here on Meta and that new update we got this morning.
In these chats, it's going to be in the channel and status at pages, basically, and they'll use limited info like your country or your city, how you interact with the ads, your language, the channels you're following. So from shareholders' perspective, great chance to make money here off the billion plus people that are using this.
By the way, we keep mentioning Meta being the best Mag 7 of the year. I was just comparing 20% year to date versus Microsoft 13, Nvidia sort of high single digit. It's been a horse, right, so far this year on a series of news.
It has absolutely been a very strong performer and approaching a $1.8 trillion market value as well. Also, last week, that was an interesting deal, the Scale AI deal that we did report on a bit, 14.3 billion, 49%. My understanding, by the way, is they take Alexander Wang, the man who founded Scale AI, and they bring him over to Meta, where he's going to run, it seems, many of their AI efforts. He's obviously a very young gentleman. I think he's still only 28 years of age.
Okay, so that's the Meta update. There was a headline this morning about the EU taking a 10% tariff. The European Commission pushed back on reports suggesting it would accept a 10% U.S. tariff, calling them speculative and inaccurate. Officials say the EU still considers the tariffs unjustified and illegal and maintains its opposition as talks continue. All right, so the EU is pushing back and saying, hey, we're not handling 10% tariffs. Tesla right here at 331, 330.93 right here. And then NVIDIA just below 146. But yeah, reports this morning that suggested the EU might be ready to take 10%. Looks like that is not true. Zuckerberg is a ruthless genius. I'm bullish on Meta. Meta is a stock I've wanted to own for so long. Just never found the right time to get in. Or when I did have the time to get in, I picked a different stock. And I sold my Meta for Palantir at 12 a long time ago. But I think Meta was at 250 at the time. But dude, I mean, you got to say that Meta has absolutely wiped the floor with Google from a stock perspective. I mean, Google might be a better company given how diversified it is and all that stuff. Meta is literally just ads and that's it. But dude, they do one thing right and they freaking sell ads and they know how to do it. And quite frankly, that's what Google does too. I mean, they have a lot of other parts of the business, but really what makes money for Google is ads. And Meta just doesn't have the AI risk. Meta has zero AI risk. There is zero world in which people don't use Instagram and Facebook and get advertised against, whereas there is a massive risk that people stop using 10 blue links. Now, do Instagram and Facebook wean off in popularity over the next 20 years? Maybe. But people have been saying that for the past 20 years. And even though, I don't use Facebook anymore, half the world does. Google search, legitimately, we can see it in the numbers. People are not using it as much. It's just that simple. This is undebatable. People are not using it as much. That doesn't mean the death of Google, but that does mean that is a massive headwind that they have to figure out how to deal with. Complete innovator's dilemma. Whereas Meta uses AI to make their ads even better on Instagram and Facebook. It's very simple. Very simple. And I wish I had recognized that in the beginning of the year over Google. But Google's undervalued, like deeply undervalued. It's that classic argument about, okay, if something's undervalued, is there a reason why it's undervalued? And if you're paying a premium for something like a Meta, which is not even that big of a premium, are you paying a premium for a good reason? And the reason was, even with all the antitrust stuff that Meta has to deal with, they do not have 95% of their business under risk because ChatGPT is now, getting people to search in a different way. Also, you do have a founder CEO, so that's fair, which is a little bit different as well. Meta is no longer just ads with Anduril. Yeah, so we don't know exactly what Meta is going to be doing with Anduril in terms of how big of a business that could be, but that's also true. You got Meta starting to diversify and, work with the military. Yes, they have AR glasses, but that doesn't make any money. I mean, I'll believe it when I see it, when I see the glasses actually make them money. I think glasses are a very hard form factor to get right. Although I think Zucks has a way better chance to pull it off than Tim Cook, I still am not a believer in the glasses thesis. I hope it works out. Like I'm not short, and I don't need it to not work out for me. And if it does work out, it's more growth than AI. I would imagine NVIDIA finds a way to get involved. Like it would be just great for the overall economy. I just don't know if people really want to wear glasses every day. I say that as someone wearing glasses, but you get my point, right? Like AI powered glasses. Like I don't know if people want to wear that every day to interact with the world. But if anyone figures it out, it's going to be Zucks. Everyone outside of America uses WhatsApp to communicate. That is correct. Snapchat's been a disaster. Absolutely disgusting. What a shit stock, dude. Just like absolutely, like just horrible. Management has not cared about shareholders. They've not done anything to diversify. The core business ad demographics are so bad because it's 13-year-olds that don't have any money. This one's just been horrible. It's been decent to trade back and forth because it's like a predictable price movement, but owning it, like, it's just been annoying for a lot of people that are in this one. 145.99 on video, trying to get back to 146. Trump is still not live yet, but it should be up soon. Did you see the Meta post with Oakley this morning, partnership for glasses? They've had that for a while, right? That and Ray-Ban. Again, they've had a lot of these partnerships. We just got to see if it like meaningfully results in revenue. I mean, look, at the end of the day, dude, SMCI up 6%. As bullish as I am on Meta as a company, we have to like, will people buy the glasses or not? Like we saw this with the Vision Pro. People didn't buy it. It's just that simple. Like capitalism's pretty easy. Do people buy it or not? Will people actually wear the Orion glasses every day and use them as their go-to device? I think the answer is no. I think it's very obviously no. And if I'm wrong, I'll be wrong. But I don't think we transition from phones that easily to glasses. But if we were, I think Meta's going to be the winner. Likely would be the winner. All right, let's do a year-to-date update. Let's do a year-to-date update in the chat. Put in the chat year-to-date update. I am 47.05% year-to-date. 47.05%. So at the worst of it, it was negative 36. And now we're at 47. It's an announcement coming June 20th. Okay. Gotcha. Again, Meta has been working with a lot of these glasses companies for a while, but the question is when they actually will get meaningful sales from it. If they look like normal glasses, then glasses wearers could. Yeah, but again, normal glasses are very lightweight, like the one I'm wearing. Like for this to be super tech focused, it would, there's going to be a battery. There's a lot of stuff in there. And the question is just going to be, can they develop the hardware to match it with the average person wearing glasses? And I think eventually they will. It's just going to take some time. All right, we got Brandon up 49%. Carolyn's up 20%. Size 67 up 84%. All Hood and Palantir. Hey, that's what I went with my ETF. They let me get away with Hood and Palantir and Tesla. And all of them are saying it's going to be the worst one. So I think they'll help me out over the next year. Brandon's at 49%. Diggs at 37. Raphael 15. Elaine at 74. Elaine, what are you doing with those 138 calls? Are you going to let them go? Or are you going to keep them? Or did you write a new price for them and you kind of rinsed and repeated? Prince right here, 62%. Rolando, 25%. Scott, 39%. Adam 52%. Riley's up 80%. I'm Beneficial, 55%. Gene, 16%. Dylan, 36%. I know some of the Tesla heavy accounts might be down a little bit more, but you can't be that mad after those earnings for Tesla to be at 330. I mean, you just can't be that mad. So at least it's not in the 200s. Nick is up 103%. I know he's heavy loaded on HIMS, which has been helping. Andy's up 6%. Pretty much everyone's green. I don't see any negatives. Dougie's up 39%. 105% on Chom. Ji Wang is up 686%. A lot of you guys. I'd probably be closer to triple digits if I kept my options. I'm not going to lie. But I didn't because I was too scared. And it is what it is. And the only options I have not really moved, like Grab. But I think I have a shot to hit triple digits by the end of the year if Grab gets closer to 750. If it goes to 750, then I think we'll have back-to-back triple-digit years. If it doesn't, we're going to have to see. But I'm also generating a lot of income with my portfolio. So it's one of those things where the net percentage year-to-date, like last year was 275%. Would I love for it to be 275% again? Yes. But I also really like the consistency of cash flow and the lack of risks that I'm taking. Like at the end of the day, I'm not buying the weekly call on Hood. I'm selling it. And that helps a lot, So it's a little bit of a pivot in terms of strategy, but hopefully we can still get closer to triple digits by the end of the year. Nicola's up 56%, Belly Pork 41%, Justin 25%. Pretty much everyone's in that, I would say, 15 to 40% range. Very few people are negative. Elaine said she kept her shares. Okay, cool. So she kept those shares as well. Nick says I'm 60K deep in HIMS options. It's either conviction or stupidity. Dude, that's what I felt last year with Hood. So I feel you. Bro. Sometimes you have to just go all in, or at least, go in enough to the point where you can dramatically change the portfolio. If you, you can make a big bet, and it's hard. Every day, some stupid headline took Hood down. I needed to be at 25. Hood would be at 23, then 21. Then August 5th happened, 17. Just bought more options, hoping it would recover. No, it got to 13 on August 5th. I just think this is a different market. I think that was acceptable 2023, 2024 because everything was so cheap. This is a market where you've really got to find the right stock that is cheap enough to be able to have that type of a move. Because it's just not that easy, What options are you in for Grab? I'm in the 7.5 $10 call debit spread by January 2027. So I'm betting $10 by 2027. Will it happen? I don't know. We are going to see. I will assess by the end of the year. If we're still stuck at $5 by the end of the year, then I think management has not given the street clarity on what they're doing with their cash. Maybe, who knows? but I think we're closer to $7 by the end of the year. And if we are, then I think we're on track. So realistically, by November, we should have a better understanding. What stock is undervalued in this market? I think Grab's undervalued. I think SoFi is undervalued. SoFi has not had a big move. I think, believe it or not, I don't think this is undervalued because we're not really using valuation metrics, but GameStop has like 85% of its market cap in cash. So like I wouldn't buy GameStop, but I do think it's relatively cheap if they do anything good with the cash, or if Bitcoin gets to 150 because they're buying Bitcoin. But I wouldn't really buy GameStop. What else is cheap? What do you guys think is cheap in this market? Really cheap. Nubank. So I don't know. I mean, like, look, Nubank, I'm borrowing Tanner's conviction here. Nubank up 4%. His fair value is 20 on Nubank in a year. So if you believe his growth estimates, then Nubank at $12, relatively cheap. Palantir for sure. I mean this, it's like going to 2 trillion in a couple years. So, I'm just kidding. But Palantir is not cheap. But Palantir is the definition of let your winners ride, bro. The definition of Google, of course. Google's cheap. Absolutely the definition of just, if you got a winner, like, don't try to time it. Don't try to do it. Just like, let it ride. Let it freaking ride. Is Uber cheap? I don't know if Uber is cheap. It was cheap at 60. I mean, compared to some of the other stocks in the market, it's definitely not expensive. By the way, Trump's still not live yet. Still waiting for that to go live. Oh, UNH, 100%. UNH is cheap. Let's make a new watch list. Let's make a list of mid-year 2025 cheap. Okay, we're going to call it mid-year 2025 cheap. We're going to go Google. We're going to go Tesla, Palantir. No, I'm just kidding. We're going to go UNH. We're going to go, what else do we add to the list? I'm going to add Grab there. I think at freaking 45% cash. If any catalyst happens, one could argue that is kind of cheap, given they have 45 million users on their platform, growing every single quarter. SoFi, I'm putting that up there. Hims is cheap, but it's run up a lot, bro. I'm looking for names that haven't run either. You want names that haven't run, because even if they're cheap, if they've already had a run, it might just be hard to get more out of them. Okay, yes, we will put Oscar up there. Oscar is definitely cheap. Do we put AMD up there? I think we can put AMD up there. AMD's had a run, but again, AMD got demolished, So I feel like, and the growth estimates on AMD genuinely do make this one look cheap. So I wouldn't struggle. But Pfizer, yeah, I mean, dude, it's trading at 11-year lows and has a 7% dividend. This is why people are buying Pfizer right now. Oh, sorry, it's 15-year lows on Pfizer. So I can understand why people are buying that one. Target, yeah, I'd put that up there. Target's definitely cheap, 95, 91. This one hasn't moved since earnings. I don't know if Lululemon is cheap. They took away their guidance. I don't know if you can say any company is cheap if they completely nuke their guidance, because then it's unpredictable. PayPal for sure. I would put PayPal up there. PayPal 7203. I think those are some of the main ones. If you look at AMD's forward growth estimates, don't look at the trailing 12 months on the PE, look at the forward growth, because that's what the market judges it on. It's relatively conservative if you assume they're going to get to those growth estimates, but they have to get there. This was the price people started really buying AMD at. Wasn't this the price where Jeremy started talking about it? 120, 130. This is when he really started buying. And so if you survived it going all the way down to 75 back up here, I mean, your average should be in the low hundreds, and this one seems like it has some more room to run. Palantir 142.50, Tessie 329, Hoodie 75.67, and then Nvidia 145.47 here right now. Nike, yeah, I guess that's fair. Put Nike on that. We could put Nike up there. I don't think we can put a Rocket Lab there. Rocket Lab's had a big move already. Also, Rocket Lab, dude, if you look at Rocket Lab's price of sales, Rocket Lab's not a cheap stock. If you could believe in the growth story, but it's definitely not cheap. Like, I think even Matt would acknowledge it's not cheap. You could say there's a lot of growth in the future coming, but they still aren't profitable yet either. So I think it needs a couple quarters just to prove profitability, and then you probably have some more money managers that get into the name. Okay, where is this Trump stream? He is still not live yet. Let me see if I can get it from a different angle. Said it was supposed to start at 11. It's 11:30. How is it already 11:30, bro? The time just flies every morning, bro. I feel like every morning we end up getting to 11 a.m. And I'm like, how do we get there? Do you guys know the OGs that used to watch the market open back in 2022? Dude, the market open was from 9:20 to 10 a.m. It was a 40-minute show. SoFi, by the way, is up 5%, 1471. It was a 40-minute show, and it would start 10 minutes before the market opens. And then finally in September of 2023, I think I went early because of CPI. It wasn't like I planned it. I just went early because of CPI. And I realized I had so much time to like talk about things before the market opened. And I was just like, why don't I just go early every day? And then it would go from 8:45 to 10, and then 8:45 to 10:30. And now it's like 8:45 to 11:30 every day. Yeah, now I have endurance. Now I have some endurance. Trump does not intend to sign G7 statement on Israel, Iran. Okay, so that's the first big update. If that is accurate, Trump is not going to agree with his G7 partners. I'm curious what exactly the statement says, because if it says something that's hostile towards Israel, that's why Trump might not be signing it. And that's something we're going to have to look out for as well. Sean, thanks for being here. He says, I'm the OG. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate everyone who's been here for the past few years. Iran studio bombed during broadcast. Attack caught on camera. I'm trying to let's see if we can get some other updates exactly on what's going on. Because we have conflicting reports. Some saying that there's some attacks happening. Others saying there's no attacks. We'll try to see exactly if I can find some details here. Where's Reddit? Reddit is still up 3.6%. ABCL, I'm going to try to get a deep dive on that soon. That one's down about 4%. Saying add UPS to the list. Okay, we'll add UPS. This one I have to go through the numbers again, but from what I remember, it's not that expensive. 100.82. Yes. Oh, yeah. UPS. Goodness gracious, dude. This stock was at freaking 150 in January. 100 now. And again, just because it's cheap doesn't mean it's a good stock, but one could argue it is cheap for whatever reason. Palantir 142 and then NVIDIA 145.58 right here. Iran State TV says it's being attacked by Israel. That came out about 20 minutes ago. Okay, so we need to get some other sources to see if Israel has launched more missiles. But it looks like that is happening right now. Where's Soundhound? Soundhound, that's up about 4% on the day as well. Yeah, I'm trying to get some more updates right here. Let's see a little coverage, and then we'll keep going.
Running the extremist part of the government versus the moderates, it would be very difficult to come to a conclusion 50-50 on who takes over. So when you talk about regime change or the deal that happens afterwards and bringing peace, who's bringing that peace about? Is it the extremists or is it the moderates? And are you going after nuclear weapons or are you trying to change the government? That's when these kind of conflicts get very confusing.
We had a new Kalshi poll. The odds of a U.S.-Iran nuclear deal in 2025 surged to a new high per 45%. 45%. Amit, are you worried Iran is going to do something incredibly stupid and all of these stocks are going to tank? Not really, because again, what could they do? I'm more worried Israel is going to do something stupid because it looks like they already got what they wanted. And if they try to get more aggressive, like with no goal in mind, because regime change is not a real goal. Like it's just not that's not practical. I'm more worried that Israel is going to try to, just do too much when they already have done enough, especially for their strategic initiatives. But Iran, they don't have the military to fight back. So I don't know what the only stupid thing they could do is launch a nuke, and they don't have a nuke. The way for them to get a nuke is for Russia or China to give them one, and they're not giving them a nuke either. So not really sure. All right, Trump's live. Here we go. Trump's live. If the audio is bad, I'll try to get a better stream with audio.
We good to go? All right, thank you.
Mr. President. Welcome to Canada. Thank you. It's a great honor. Happy birthday. A few days short, but didn't have a chance to see you on the day. Happy birthday to the U.S. military as well, 250th, and this is the 50th.
Okay, the audio does suck. Give me a second. Let me try to find a better stream, but that's the White House audio. Let me see if I can find a better one. Just give me a second.
Birthday, if you will, of the G7. This marks the 50th birthday of the G7 as well, 250th, and this is the 50th birthday, if you will, of the G7. This marks
This audio sucks too, guys. Give me a second. I'll see if I can find a better one, but this is the best we have so far.
U.S. leadership, and your personal leadership of the United States, many issues, geopolitics, economic, technology, and
a person named Trudeau didn't want to have Russia in. And I would say that was a mistake, because I think you wouldn't have a war right now if you had Russia in. And you wouldn't have a war right now if Trump were president 4 years ago. But it didn't work out that way. But it used to be the G8, and now it's, I guess, what's that, 8 years ago, it switched over. They threw Russia out, which I claimed was a very big mistake. Even though I wasn't in politics then, I was very loud about it. It was a mistake in that you spend so much time talking about Russia, and he's no longer at the table. So it makes life more complicated. But you wouldn't have had the war. Other than that, I think we're going to accomplish a lot. And I expect to. And I think our primary focus will be trade and trade with Canada. And I'm sure we can work something out.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so much. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, adding up a deal with Canada. What is holding up a deal with Canada from your perspective?
It's not so much holding up. I think we have different concepts. I have a tariff concept. Mark has a different concept, which is something that some people like. But we're going to see if we can get to the bottom of it today. I'm a tariff person. I've always been a tariff. It's simple, it's easy, it's precise, and it just goes very quickly. And I think Mark has a more complex idea, but also very good. So we're going to look at both, and we're going to see what we're going to come out with something. Hopefully,
Do you think a deal is achievable within days, within weeks? Is there that kind of runway?
yeah, it's achievable. Both parties have to agree. Yeah, sure.
Mr. President, have you heard any signals or seen any messages from intermediaries that Iran wishes to de-escalate the conflict?
Yeah.
What have you heard?
Boom. Trump says yes. Trump says yes to the question on Iran looking to de-escalate the conflict.
What have you heard from the Iranians?
They'd like to talk, but they should have done that before. I had 60 days, and they had 60 days, and on the 61st day, I said, we don't have a deal. They have to make a deal, and it's painful for both parties, but I'd say Iran is not winning this war, and they should talk, and they should talk immediately before it's too late.
And what would you say, in your opinion, what would it take for the U.S. to get involved in this conflict militarily?
I don't want to talk about that.
As you mentioned Putin, do you think that he should have a seat at the G7 today, that it should be the G8?
I'm not saying he should at this point, because too much water's gone over the dam, maybe. But it was a big mistake. Obama didn't want him, and the head of your country, the proud head of your country, didn't want him. This was a big mistake. You wouldn't have that war. You know, you have your enemy at the table. Even I don't even consider him. He wasn't really an enemy at that time. There was no concept. If I were president, this war would have never happened. But likewise, if he were a member of what was called the G8 at that time, it was always the G8. You wouldn't have a war right now.
What Israel support and what intelligence support are you providing Israel?
We've always supported Israel. We have for a long period of time, strongly. And Israel's doing very well right now.
That's basically him confirming we're helping Israel. We're backing them up. And the Iranians know this. They know if they try to go against Israel, they're basically going against the United States. So that's him, read between the lines saying we are making sure that Israel's going to be protected in this.
Why not have China here, the biggest economy in the world after the United States?
Well, it's not a bad idea. I don't mind that. If somebody wants to suggest China coming in, I think we suggest. But you want to have people that you can talk to. They don't talk. Putin speaks to me. He doesn't speak to anybody else. He doesn't want to talk because he was very insulted when he got thrown out of the G8, as I would be, as you would be, as anybody would be. He was very insulted. And I mean, he was thrown out by Trudeau, who convinced one or two people, along with Obama. He was thrown out, and he's not a happy person about it. I can tell you that. He basically doesn't even speak to the people that throw him out, and I agree with him.
On immigration, why are you ordering ICE to target Democratic inner cities? What's behind that?
I don't know what you're saying.
You did a post last night where you said you want ICE to really target Democratic.
Yeah, I want them to focus on the cities because the cities are where you really have what you call sanctuary cities, and that's where the people are. I look at New York. I look at Chicago. I mean, you got a really bad governor in Chicago and a bad mayor, but the governor's probably the worst in the country, Pritzker. But I look at how that city has been overrun by criminals, and New York and L.A. Look at L.A. L.A. Those people weren't from L.A. They weren't from California. Most of those people, many of those people, and that's a focus. Biden allowed 21 million people to come into our country. Of that, vast numbers of those people were murderers, killers, people from gangs, people from jails. They emptied their jails out into the U.S. Most of those people are in the cities, all blue cities, all Democrat-run cities, and they think they're going to use them to vote. It's not going to happen.
That's it. Thank you. If you don't mind, I'm going to exercise my role, if you will, as G7 chair, since we have a few more minutes with the president and his team, and then we actually have to start the meeting to address some of these big issues. So
thank you. Thank you, media. Let's go.
Thank you. That's it.
There's Basent and Rubio there as well. So you got Basent, you got Rubio, and you got Trump.
Katie, let's go.
I don't want to.
Thank you. Okay.
Mr. President, are you seriously considering you guys are headed out?
Let's go. Thank you very much. Okay, let's go.
Here we go.
They're kind of friendly. Carney and Trump kind of laughing with each other. They're kind of amicable right here. So not too bad. Nice to see them kind of getting along and not being super aggressive with each other. Folks, the biggest thing that we just got from that is Trump has confirmed essentially what the Wall Street Journal was reporting, which is that Iran reached out. He said they reached out. They wanted to talk. They should have signed this deal 2 months ago. They are not going to win this war. S&P is up 1%. 1.1%. Palantir trying to get back to 143. I mean, look, that's essentially what the markets were pricing in the morning. They were pricing in, hey, this is going to be over. Iran doesn't have a chance. The U.S. is obviously not going to back down. No one's going to help Iran. And so, boom. What's left is a market that likely does not have a massive World War III scenario unfolding if Iran is ready to leave. My opinion on Baba, I mean, it's undervalued, but I don't want to buy Chinese companies with so much growth in the United States. So, yeah, undervalued. I think, fair value is closer to 200 on Alibaba. They have a lot of cash on hand, but that's always been the story with them. They've already had a nice run from 50, so it's been a nice move, but I just would rather buy U.S. companies right here. Now, we do have something breaking as well. This is a video of the Iranian state TV apparently getting targeted by some of these strikes. Boom. Right there. Right there. You can see that right there live. She had to leave. Right at that moment. That's Iranian state TV getting hit. This is not confirmed, but it looks like it's getting hit by the drones. Again, not confirmed. That's a video that's been going viral basically for the past 20 minutes. It just got posted. It looks like Israel's trying to attack every record. Again, it might not be exactly because of that, but the video just got posted about 20 minutes ago. It just came across the feed. So there you go. There you go. Again, we'll try to get more confirmations on this stuff. But like, here's the big thing now, dude. Is Israel going to keep attacking, and are they going to keep attacking in an aggressive way? Because if they are, this might not come to an end. If they are done, then this is over and we kind of move on. But I think the question is how far they want to go. How far do they want to go? Could it be fake? I don't know. It could be, but it's going viral right now. So I'm not saying it's completely accurate, but it looks like looks pretty accurate based on it being Iranian state TV. But yeah, even dude, this video again, it's going viral. Like every other post I'm looking at on Twitter is this video. So could it be fake? Sure, but it also could be something that happened in real time in front of us as well. Again, there it is, right at that moment. That's when she leaves. Dude, you got a lot of conspiracy theorists in the chat. She was moving too slow. Maybe, dude. Maybe it's AI. Who knows? Maybe it's AI. But it looks relatively real. We'll get some more updates probably throughout the rest of the day to see if it's real. Regardless, Trump confirms, hey, it's time for Iran to step down, sign the deal, and get it over with. So there you go. There you go. Robin Hood right here. 75.90 win. Again, from a markets perspective, I'm trying to analyze what this means for the markets. You could have whatever side you want to be on. You want to be on Israel side, Iran side. I quite frankly don't care. I really don't. I don't have a political affiliation that I want to impose on anybody. I'm just trying to figure out, hey, logically, who's going to win? Who's going to surrender? What allies are going to be supporting the other allies? And when is this over? Because I care about what it means for the broader markets. And it looks like, based on the reports, again, it's going to take a couple of days to probably confirm a lot of this stuff. Trump did say just now that Iran called him and said they're ready to de-escalate. Either Trump's lying about that or he's telling the truth. And if he's telling the truth and they're ready to de-escalate, then it feels like this is going to be over sooner than later. And if it's not, it seems like more so because Israel wants to be even more offensive, which then begs the question, does Trump want them to get that aggressive, or is Trump going to call Netanyahu and say, chill out? You did what you have to do and it's done. And I think that's going to be the story that we have to watch out for over the coming weeks as well. So that's what we got. Robin right here, 75.95. Palantir, 142.93, up 4%. Tessie, 1.3. Nvidia, 145. Nvidia couldn't stay above 146, but we did touch it. Google, 175. Grab, nice little 4% day. Not too bad. Hopefully we can make our way back to the $5 range. Amazon right here, 215. The Qs are up 1 point. Wow, the Qs are up 1.5. It's a good day for the Qs. Where's Apple? Apple 197. Microsoft 480. Holy crap. Microsoft all-time highs. There you go. 475 was the previous all-time high on Friday. Back to, well, now making new highs at 480. People have had $500 targets on Microsoft for the past 2.5 years. So feels like it's getting ready to gear up to those levels. Microsoft's market cap, 3.57 trillion. Is it more than NVIDIA? NVIDIA's at 3.58. Microsoft's at 3.57. So NVIDIA just above Microsoft. And then AMD, the big winner of the day, 9.5% on the day. There you go. 181st, Palantir, NVIDIA. Dude, could we imagine if Palantir is 180 before NVIDIA? That would be wild, bro. That'd be wild. Qubit as well, up 18%. Why are the quantum stocks pumping today? Qubit's up 18%. D-Wave's up 7%. IONQ, even after that big insider sale, up 2%. And then Rigetti, I think, is up 7%. Rigetti's up 5.7%. This is just like, again, this is why you could believe Skrelly all you want on the thesis. Shorting these names is tough, bro. There's a lot of believers. People probably think Palantir is a good short, but the reason its short float is less than 2% is because there's a lot of believers. Even if the valuation is aggressive. 143 back on Palantir, up 4%. So it just might not be the best short. And the worst thing is shorts have to cover at some point if it gets too aggressive. And again, remember, Skrelly said he's borrowing money to fuel his short. And he says he's going to make $100 million on this thing. The other psychological thing that's weird about shorting is the most you can make is 100%. It's not like you're buying a call and you can make infinity. It's like the most you can make is 100%. And so, but the most you can lose is infinity. So when you go short, you really really have to be convicted on your thesis. Qubit got into the Russell and its profit. Did they get into the Russell 2000? Did they get into IWM or the Russell 1000? Even small caps up 1.5%. Dude, if they got into the Russell 2000, yeah, that's a big deal. That makes sense. You could easily see a 20% gain on that. What is your guess for hood price at the end of 2026? I have a call debit spread for 95. Look, I think it could easily be 95 by the end of 2026. I would have to do my numbers and see what like my growth estimates would tell me, but I think it's not crazy for this to be a triple digit stock in 2026. My fear about 2026, and the reason I'm not being that aggressive with options, is that 2026 is a midterm year. And a midterm year always tends to suck in the markets, like always, every time. And 2022 was the last midterm year we had, and it was pretty ugly. And, you know, now we're getting into 2026, which tends to be the midterm in a 4-year election cycle. And it's a 4th year of a 3-year bull market that I know the S&P hasn't really done anything this year. It's barely up 2%. But if we end up going 15% by the end of the year on the S&P, we're going to be asking for 4 years in a row of plus 15 to 20% gains. And that's just hard. That's just really hard. And so that doesn't mean 2026 has to be a 2022 type of year, down 20%. But 4 years in a row of back to back to back 15 to 20% years is, I don't know, it's just, we're going to need to see earnings growth be monumental. Now, granted, could I see it happening? Yeah, because Trump's going to deregulate. You're going to get interest rates to come down eventually. These tariff deals should be a tailwind. You're going to have a ton of degrowth policies, humanoid robots, self-driving, AI innovation, like all that stuff should just be macro catalysts. And then if valuations kind of match up to the growth expectations, could we see valuation expansion? Yes. I just think it's going to be not as easy as the past couple of years. And so that's why I'm a little bit afraid of some of these options. And that's why it's hard to give you a price target on Robinhood by the end. Like, dude, Robinhood could go back to 50 easily if 2026 has a disgusting year in terms of just the broader markets. But it also, you know, could head to 150 if it's like 7,500 on the S&P. So I just don't know exactly what 2026 looks like. And I'm trying to just, you know, take it 1 month at a time. 2025 looks like it's going to be okay. But if 2026 is relatively moderate, I think Robinhood is a triple digit stock by the end of the year, by the end of 2026. You forgot massive money printing. Well, yeah, that's another thing that also could, you know, take markets higher as well. I mean, the Fed bought back 10 billion of treasuries last Friday. So like already we're seeing elements of quantitative easing. That's the other thing. Like if you want to get bearish or like not as bullish because the past 3 years have been so good, the question is, in this AI revolution, does 2026 end up becoming just another year that, you know, as Dan Ives would say, all right, it's not 10 p.m. at the party anymore, it's 1 a.m. But 1 a.m. is not 4 a.m. You know, we're not at the end of the party. We still got 3 hours left. And if that's the case, then these stocks are going higher. So I don't want to think 2026 is going to be bad, but I think we're going to have a much better understanding of it going towards the end of the year. It's just historically, again, midterm years always give us a pretty aggressive pullback. That's not just like a Trump tariff pullback, but like a real pullback. We had it back in 2018 when we had the midterms. 2018 was a nasty Christmas. Obviously, the China trade war stuff put fuel on the fire there, but still, it was another midterm year where and the reason for why it's a midterm year, it's not like some conspiracy theory. It's the Democrats and Republicans are in gridlock, or the market is scared that there won't be gridlock and that one side's going to get victory. And either way, if the uncertainty of knowing are the Republicans or Democrats going to be in power is what leads to equity prices being a little volatile. So I don't know. We're going to have to find out by the end of 2025. But overall, I think for this year, if we just want to get through 1 year at a time, I don't see the massive bear case for the next couple months. I really don't. The big one was no trade deals, and it looks like we're going to get trade deals. And it looks like Trump wants to get trade deals pretty soon. Even if they're not the best deals, we're going to get them done. And as long as the earnings growth, you know, continues to be strong. Now, the one risk is that Q2 is the first quarter with tariffs. Therefore, earnings growth might not be as robust, which is fair. I can see that happening. Question is, how big of an impact does it have on, you know, the most important companies in the S&P. Vinny said, I sold all my Qubit. Look, not bad. Took some profits. Retail's been taking profits. Not crazy. Manuel says the multi-year AI cycle doesn't have to be 8 years green in a row, though. We can have a really bad year in the middle or 2 boring years and still have this massive revolution. That is a great point. That is a great point. 2026 could be a bad year, and we still have a massive revolution when it comes to AI. And the question is just becomes, do you believe that 2026 would have enough headwinds for us to chill out a little bit before restarting in 2027? Or it goes, it just goes back to the moon and the market doesn't care. And we continue. I mean, remember, there's $7 trillion on the sidelines. And if it doesn't get deployed by this year, it's 2026. I don't think that money's going to want 3% or 3.5% in money market funds. They might want a little bit more. And that means they might end up having to allocate to equities. Amit, I'm working in a house right now that still has all of their protective plastic on their TV screen. You're not alone. Thank you. I appreciate this. Thank you. That means a lot. Means a lot that I'm not the only one that has stickers on my TV. By the way, I don't even have the protective plastic, okay? It's the factory sticker. Everyone thought it was the plastic. It's not the plastic. It's just the factory sticker. But I'm happy other people feel the same. Mate, can you go back to the cheap stock list? Yes, we'll keep updating this here. If anyone wants to screenshot this, these are the 11 names: Google, UNH, Grab, SoFi, Oscar, AMD, Pfizer, Target, PayPal, Nike, and UPS. And we'll add some more. As an Indian, I have stickers on 70% of my appliances. Dude, that's hilarious. That's hilarious. I just haven't taken it off the TV, dude. It's just on the TV. All right, cool. Is that it? Are we done? Are we done for the day? It's almost 12 p.m. Again, green markets, S&P, pretty much saying this conflict, we think it's over. And if we get more updates from Trump, we got the biggest update just now where he said Iranian officials did call to de-escalate. If he's accurate about that and it's true, and we're going to start seeing some real de-escalation, I think markets once again are climbing a wall of worry. And that wall of worry might allow them to move forward and get back to potentially see all-time highs, which would not be the worst thing in the world here. AMD, again, that one, just great day for AMD, bro. Freaking great day. 9.4% on AMD. Are you seriously still on? I went to a meeting 2 hours ago. Dude, I don't know what's going on, but these streams are just, today was a crazy day though. So today we had to go live, and go long. But these streams are basically 3-hour streams at this point. And I enjoy it, dude. Like the worst, I don't want to stream if there's nothing to stream about and there's no excitement or energy and it's just like boring and being live for the sake of being live. But, when there's so much news to cover and so much stuff, you just stay and you keep it going. So yeah, sometimes these streams, like, dude, I like it has it really been 3 hours? My mornings just fly by with the stream and then it's afternoon and it's like, dude, it's really been 3 hours, but it has, because there's just so much stuff happening back and forth and we're all covering it. We will do a 24/7 stream eventually in the new apartment. Dude, again, guys, I haven't seen this apartment in like 3 months, basically since May. So, okay, like a month and a half, 2 months, because it was early May. I want to show you guys a preview of it, but I don't want to show it to you guys until it's ready. So I haven't showed anyone what it looks like. But I'm just saying, I took my folks, my grandparents, my uncle, everyone. We went for a Father's Day dinner, and I showed them the apartment first. They were impressed. They were pretty impressed. They understood why I signed up as soon as I signed up, bro. I don't want to show it, bro. I don't want to take away from the surprise. I think you guys will like it. And the view. So what I noticed is I don't have the skyline view. Okay, I don't have the skyline view. That's on the other side of the building. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get that. But I didn't notice this the first time. I have Statue of Liberty. I have the Statue of Liberty. So I'm able to see Lady Liberty. But I'm not able to see the World Trade Center. So hopefully next year we can get to the World Trade Center. But it was nice, bro. Like my parents walked, it's on the 17th floor too. So like, it's like really, like they walked in and they were just like, because when you guys will see it, when you walk in, it's like, I don't even want to describe it to give it away, but it's one of those things that immediately you enter into, like, I don't have the words to describe it, but let's just say it's an open thing. There's a lot of open windows. And like, as soon as you walk in, it's just like a really cool vibe. So I think a lot of you guys will enjoy it. We're gonna decorate the crap out of it. I'm gonna get a lot of art in here. We're gonna have to figure out what the studio looks like, but it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a whole new era. A whole new era. It's like Ashton Hall's. It's not like Ashton Hall's crib, but yeah, it's AK Media new headquarters, basically. I think like we're gonna make it so that when guests come to do a podcast, I want to try to get Tom Lee as the first one. He's been, I've been interacting with him a lot more on Twitter. I think I can hit up his team and he can come in person. I think guests are gonna really enjoy it because it's a really nice building. I think the apartment's gonna be really nice. The amenities also, there's a basketball court. Like we were playing basketball yesterday. Like I love basketball. I just haven't been able to play basketball for so many years because like I don't have a basketball court near me. And so I'm going to be playing basketball every single day. Okay. Iran State Media says, Iran preparing for largest and most intense missile attack in history on Israeli soil. All right, bro. If they're going to go for it, I mean, like, again, if they're going to go for it, they're going to be hit back way harder. It's just that simple. Like, again, this is coming from Iranian state media, so we don't know if it's exactly true, if they are going for it. Yeah, markets are not reacting. Nothing's red right here. S&P is still holding 6,000. Dude, it's still holding 603. It's like markets are not believing this yet until they do it. And again, if they do it, then Israel's going to fight back even. Like, we know what Israel's going to do, and Israel's not going to tolerate that shit. So if they want to escalate it to the point where Israel decides to legitimately take them out, then all right, they're walking into this. But yeah, why broadcast their attack? That's another, like, why would they, why would they do that too? Like, the markets are not reacting to this at all. Barely any red candles. I think Hood's back at 76. Like, I don't know, guys. We'll keep monitoring throughout the day, but it is hard for me to imagine that Iran really is going to go for it in some dramatic way. Now they've got to get their people to believe that they're going to attack back, right, to maintain legitimacy. And they might have somewhat of an attack. Now, is it going to be the worst attack ever on Israeli soil? That's a little aggressive. I don't know. I don't know if they do that. So we're going to have to see. Look, at the end of the day, dude, Iran does. I'm just trying to be logical. It's not even political. Iran doesn't have allies. Whatever weapons they have, they're going to run out of soon if they choose to deploy them all against Israel. And if they use all their weapons and they have nothing left, and Israel has a stockpile of lots of weapons, plus the United States, Canada, France, the UK, everyone's willing to give them more weapons. I mean, like, even Putin did not say, I support them. Putin said over the weekend, I would be willing to be an intermediary to be able to negotiate a ceasefire between Iran and Israel. He did not say unequivocally he's going to take the side of Iran. Trump has said we're on Israel's side. The UK has said we're on Israel's side. France has said we're on Israel's side. So I don't know. We're going to see how this plays out. But if they really want to go for it, we're going to see how bad it becomes. Again, if they're going against Israel, they're going against the United States. And the question just becomes how dramatic. Now, look, here's where it gets bad. If Russia and China come in and say, we will not tolerate Israel bullying Iran or the United States attacking Iran, and we are ready to give Iran the necessary military equipment to defend themselves, then we got an issue. Then we have an issue. So far, that has not happened. It's not happened. China's been silent all weekend. Russia has only promised to help intermediate the conflict, not actually, supply them with weapons. Now, could Russia and China be silently giving them weapons and we don't know about it? Sure, that's theoretic. I mean, I think that's happened in the past with China and Iran, so that's possible. But it begs the question, do they really want to get into this as aggressively? And again, the World War III geopolitical experts have argued that this is how it starts, that you have a conflict, and then the big guys take one side, the U.S. takes the other side, and then it becomes, World War III. I don't know if Russia and China, with their economies crippling the way they are, actually want to get into a world war. But I don't think Iran is necessarily bluffing in terms of them retaliating. I don't know if it's going to be the most intense attack ever, but it looks like they will. They have to respond. I mean, they know they have to respond based on what happened over the weekend. The question is just, they're trying to tell their citizens it's going to be a really big attack. It might be, Or it might be a small attack, but they try to convince their citizens, hey, we attacked them back pretty aggressively, so you guys shouldn't try to revolt against us because, you know, our regime continues to be legitimate. So here we go. We're going to see how this ends up playing out, but that is what Iran state media reported just 7 minutes ago, that Iran is preparing for the largest and most intense missile attack in history on Israeli soil. We will get more updates throughout the day. If it's going to happen soon, then we will find out probably before the market close. What time is it in Iran right now? Iran, it's 7:35 p.m. Israel, 7:05 p.m. All right. All right. Over the coming hours, we're going to see. We're going to see how this plays out. All right. So I'll be back on the market close. Again, stocks not really reflecting that much towards that headline. They're going to have to see something to believe it. Robinhood above 76, Palantir still 142, Tesla 330, Nvidia 145.75, and the broader S&P 602.97 right now. Yeah, why would you tell your enemy that you're preparing for a massive attack? Look, there's going to be an attack. They will definitely launch some missiles. Will it be the worst attack on Israeli soil ever? I mean, if it is, then they better be ready for what Israel's going to respond with. And quite frankly, this is what Netanyahu, to an extent, wants, because he wants a reason, a legitimate, justified reason. And if they launch the worst attack ever on Israeli soil, he will absolutely have his justification to go gung-ho against Iran. But that's conflicting with what Trump said. Trump just said 10 minutes ago, hey, they want to de-escalate. So Iranian state media is saying something else. Trump saying they want to de-escalate. I mean, no one really knows exactly how this is playing out. And I guess over the coming hours, we're gonna get some better details. All right, cool. That's it. I'll be back on the market close. Again, thank everybody for being here. We'll be live in the next few hours. Try to see any updates. No earnings today besides Lennar, which is the home builder. Outside of that, markets pretty much excited about some of the momentum that we're seeing. All right, cool. That's it. Thank you, everybody. I'll be back. Oh, word of the day. We didn't do word of the day. I forgot word of the day. It's been 4 hours. I need to word of the day. Word of the day is, I guess, kind of timely based on everything going on. Cipher. A coded message. She spent hours trying to crack the ancient cipher found in the margins of the diary. The pen pals disguised their messages as ciphers, switching each letter with the next in the alphabet. One could imagine Iranian state media, Israel, all of them trying to decipher all these messages and, having a lot of different coded ways in terms of communicating with each other. Also, cipher stands for a rap. Yeah. You can get into a rap cipher. Dude, I've been in some rap ciphers in my day. When I was in high school, I was a rapper. I don't know if you guys know. I was legit a rapper. Like, actually a rapper. Like, I wanted to build my own recording studio when I was in high school, which I kind of did to an extent. It was like a shitty microphone, but then I found out that, like, I'm not the best at rapping. But more like a yapper. Yeah. Dude, I wanted to be a rapper. I became a yapper. There's no way. Dude, I have my raps. I still have them. Maybe I'll let you listen to them one day. Dude, me and my boys, we downloaded the freaking instrumentals from SoundCloud. We put it into GarageBand, and we freaking rapped over one of my boys, Bashir, he was like a legit good rapper. He just never ended up going like super big in the music industry or like going to like take it that seriously, but he was really good. He was really good. And so, dude, we'd be after school, we'd be outside, we'd just be put on a beat. Like, we would legit rap. I had the same couple bars I would use over and over again. I think I wrote them in my notes. I'm gonna try to find them. I'm trying to remember. I had some I kept using them over and over again. Kind of like I recycle my jokes right here. But dude, there was this one rap I did about the Polo Ralph Lauren logo. I'm trying to remember this thing. It was like 10 years ago, 15 years ago. I'm gonna try to look through my notes. I have notes from like 2010 on my phone. But I remember there was a rap bar that had to do with like the Polo Ralph Lauren logo, and I connected it to, I don't know how. But yeah, I gotta find them. I'm pretty sure there's some of them are still on SoundCloud. Maybe some of them might be able to. Dude, AK-47, that's facts. AK-47. That's the that should have been my rap name. So Now I rap about stocks every day. Now I do. Dude, I think you guys are really going to like this apartment. I really do. It is pretty dope. It is pretty. I mean, I'll show you guys one thing, right? Actually, no, I'm not gonna show. I know I don't want to tease it, dude. I don't want to tease it. I don't want to show any. I don't want to tease it. I don't want to tease it. We'll see you guys in August. August, you guys will be introduced to it. I think you will enjoy it. My mom is so ready to help decorate it. She loves interior design and all that shit, so she's like super excited. I think you guys will like it. It'll be dope. I don't want to tease. I don't even want to tease it. I don't want to tease it. I want it to be a surprise. I want it to be a full surprise. So, all right, cool. There it is. I'll be back at 3:45 on the market close. From rapper to yapper, thank you everybody for being here every single day and listening to the yapping. And congrats to everyone. These equity prices continuing to get momentum. S&P 500 at 603, Palantir new all-time high. AMD great day, wrapping it above 76. So far, it looks like the markets continue to want to have this momentum as they climb the wall of worry. And hopefully, all-time highs is not too far away as well. All right, thank you everybody. I'll be back on the market close. Bye everyone. Have a good one.